Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea, and this is our special, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier open spoiler discussion for the Falcon and the Winter Soldier Episode 2, which of course dropped last night. I'm so glad you guys are here joining me today as we get together to talk about last night's episode. Now, just in case the title of this video does not give it away, this is an open spoiler discussion. We are going to be talking about last night's episode in every open spoilerish kind of way. So if you have not seen the episode yet, you may want to just, bookmark this video and come back to it a little bit later, because we are going to be talking about everything that went up here. And hello to everybody in the live chat who's here with us. Going to be talking about the show. So listen, this is a little bit different than the regular John Campea Show. If you have a comment, observation, theory, or question about last night's episode, you do not use the tip link that's down in the description. That's just for the John Campea Show. What you actually do is you use the super chat feature here on YouTube to send it in, and that's how you get your questions on. All right, so here's what we're going to do, and I can do this all day. So we're going to talk about this. I'm going to talk for just a minute about my impressions of the episode last night. And then we're just going to spend the rest of the time hearing from you guys. It's all going to be about you. What do you got to say about last night's episode? And that's what we're going to do. So here's my thought. Number one, very pleased to see that we got another big set piece action piece, a big set action piece like we did in episode 1. Because in WandaVision, we only really had the one big action sequence, which was in the final episode. And it was great. I loved WandaVision, and I loved the big final set piece. Coming into the Falcon and Winter Soldier, I think a lot of us felt that, there'll be more action because this is Falcon and Winter Soldier. There's going to be more action than there was in WandaVision. But, we weren't quite sure how much. Well, they start off the first episode with that great aerial sequence, which was awesome. Then we come into the second episode, another big action set piece, the fight on top of the trucks. A little bit reminiscent of Cap's fight with Ultron in Age of Ultron on top of the truck, right? A little reminiscent of that, I think. I think that might have been on purpose a little bit. But yeah, I thought the action sequence was great. I really love that they're not overpowering Sam and Bucky. Because, this is their show now. Make them more powerful than they normally are. Cap could have jumped on that truck and taken out all those guys. Yeah, but Sam and Bucky aren't Cap. And they're not trying to make them Cap. And I really like that. So I really dug that. Number 2, I continue to really like the chemistry between Sam and Bucky. I do like it. There were points in this episode, I'm going to say, felt a little bit forced. Like I liked all of their interaction except for the therapy session. That one felt a little weird to me, to be honest with you. It didn't feel natural. Like, to me, Sam and Bucky's chemistry throughout the rest of the episode felt very, very organic. It just felt very real. But then in that therapy session one, I don't know, it didn't, that therapy session didn't work as good for me, even though I love the therapist and I love the dynamic between the therapist and Bucky. That one scene didn't quite do it for me. By the way, one question mark. How does Bucky just walk onto a military compound where Sam was getting ready to take off? How does he just walk on? And how does he have the right to say, I'm coming with you, and just walk onto a military plane? That was like a little, really? No explanation for that? But okay, whatever. Get by that. Bucky jumping out of the plane was awesome. I love that whole bit. First encountering the things, of course, the fight. Can we talk for a second about Isaiah? How great was that scene? I get that, and that one part where he gets frustrated, and he throws the flask and goes right into the wall. It's like, oh, this guy's a super soldier. And I remember when he came on screen, my buddy Ryan was over last night as the episode aired. And he was like, oh my God, it's Isaiah Bradley. It's like, what? It's like, yeah. It was like that scene was incredible. It also gives us more texture about hey, you know what? America, even when it comes to their heroes, America's got a bit of a checkered past. Well, maybe not even a bit, maybe a very has a checkered past, and they kind of embrace that a little bit. And I thought that was really interesting. It's going to be interesting to see where they go from there. Yeah. And then of course we meet Walker, who is of course the new Captain America, and they didn't handle him the way I thought they would. It felt like they were going, it feels like the show's going out of its way to really show, no, this is a good guy. Like whatever he was in the comics, which is something very different, he's a good guy. We meet his best friend who's completely loyal to him. We hear his real heart. Like, I just want to do the job. We meet his girlfriend or his wife. I don't know. They weren't really specific if that was his girlfriend or his wife. You know, he's legitimately trying to make an effort with Sam and Bucky, it seems like. Although I thought that one scene was really good when he first introduces himself, like, Walker, Captain America. It's like, as soon as he said Captain America, you could see Sam's face like, dude, you ain't Captain America. You may be Walmart Captain America, but you ain't Captain America. But yeah, I thought the way they handled that, nothing is pure black and white, all that kind of stuff. But now, to me, the big question, like, a lot of people is like, oh, how's it going to go when they go and meet Zemo? I'll tell you what, for me, the only thing that I really, really want to know is who was texting the redhead girl saying, I'm going to kill you. Who was that? Because it wasn't Zemo. Like, Zemo's in prison. They showed us that. He's still locked away securely in that thing. It wasn't Zemo. So who is the one? Oh, that's right. Marcus called it in the live chat. It's Mephisto. Everybody, we all know it. No, we know now. We know now. Everybody relax. We now know the mystery. It's Mephisto. Mephisto texted the redhead girl to threaten that he's going to kill her. Power broker. But anyway, that's going to be interesting to see, because we know that girl is not going to be ultimately the big bad. That's not the big bad. There's going to be somebody else bigger behind that. So we're going to find out who that was. Some people think that maybe it was Walker himself texting her. Walker wants that serum, you know, because the text, like, you took what was mine. Maybe Walker's like, I'm not just content to wear the costume and carry the shield. I want that super soldier serum. Maybe that's why he was after her. I don't know. Maybe yes, maybe no. There was a lot of question marks. Maybe he was Quicksilver. That's why I'm now crossing all the theories over. It's Quicksilver, everybody. Everybody, it's Quicksilver. It's Quicksilver. They're bringing in the X-Men. Anyway. So, overall, very enjoyable episode. I liked it a lot. But again, the Isaiah thing, the Zemo introduced. We get a better idea about what the overall plot is, the action set piece with the fights on top of the trucks, the mystery text messages. A lot went down. A lot went down in this episode. So I'll tell you what, guys, let's take the rest of the episode now and just hear from you guys and see what you guys have to say about last night's episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier. We're going to start things off here with Bert, who writes, Wyatt Russell is my Captain America. Listen, he does come across as likable, doesn't he? Like, he legitimately comes across as likable. And you got to remember, even in the comic books, he's not like a straight up villain. Like, he wants to be a hero, but he comes across as very, very likable. And one of the things you can tell about the quality of a person is how faithful are their friends to them. And like, Battlestar seems very, 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 very committed to him. So I don't know. I thought that was really interesting. All right. Frankie Gouge writes, I love the way that everything is in the gray area. I was just saying that myself. Nothing is black and white. I have a feeling that a lot of the characters introduced are going to be in the MCU for a while. Yeah. I mean, listen, I thought, look, I don't want to get crazy. I don't want to get too carried away. But, you know, going into Falcon and Winter Soldier, I said, well, I mean, look, we already know what's going to happen at the end. Sam's going to be the new Captain America. Although I don't think anybody should be Captain America. I thought Captain America is Steve Rogers, and that's it. If Steve Rogers isn't Captain America, nobody's Captain America. Somebody else can carry the shield. That's fine. But look, we all see where this is going. Sam is going to be Captain America at the end. What if they throw us a curveball and, like, Sam and Bucky both give their blessing to John Walker being the new Captain America by the end? I mean, I'm not trying to get crazy. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I'm just throwing that out there. Or they may show us that he really is a villain. We'll see. We'll see, Frankie. All right, next up, Benjamin GL writes, well, that was a tone shift. As soon as Bucky and Sam were in the Sam place, I started thinking that clip of Big 3 is coming, that doesn't seem like it's going to Tone, and it didn't. Then Tone was back and forth all episode. I'm going to read that again, Benjamin. I'm not quite sure I'm following. Well, that was a tone shift. As soon as Bucky and Sam were in the Sam place. What was the Sam place? As soon as Bucky and Sam were in the Sam place, I started thinking that clip of Big 3 is coming. That doesn't seem like it's going to Tone, and it didn't. then the tone went back and forth. I'm not quite sure what it is you're trying to say. I apologize, Benjamin G. I cannot interpret what it is you're saying. I'm sorry about that, dude. All right, Frankie writes, maybe the most nuanced handling of racism that I've ever seen. Yeah, they just, look, I appreciated the way they handled this, like with Isaiah and everything. They don't come right out and beat it over the head. It was nuanced. It was like, there it is. We're not ignoring it. We're not pretending it's not a real thing, but we're not going to beat you over the head with it at the same time. And yet it was still very effective. So I really did like that a lot. All right, next up. Mark Blazer writes, I love these Marvel shows. Every episode gets better and better. They mentioned Doctor Strange, so it's confirmed. Mephisto shows up. Tell you, it's Mephisto texting the girl. And you didn't know this, but it was Mephisto flying Sam and Bucky's plane too. The plane that was carrying Sam and Bucky, Mephisto was piloting it. Not many people knew that. I just gave you some inside information. Obviously, I'm kidding. Don't run with that. All right, next up. James Argento writes, who ends up with S.H.I.E.L.D.? Sam, Bucky, Isaiah Bradley, or his grandson Eli? In comics, Eli got enhanced by blood transfusion from Isaiah. You know what? Again, I will still put my money on Sam. My money still goes on Sam. I think that is the way, that's what I thought beforehand. That's what I think now, but I'm not as sure now. Like we're halfway into this episode. We're not halfway through. Next episode will be the halfway point of the series, but I'm still going with Sam, but I am not as sure. I don't think Isaiah ends up with it. I don't think Eli's going to end up with it. I don't think Bucky ends up with it. It's either Sam or it goes back to the museum. Sam says, only Steve is Captain America, but I'm going to fight to honor his legacy and everything, just not be I don't know, but I'm still going to go with Sam. For now, James, I will stick with Sam. All right, next up. Russell Amador writes, am I the only one that thinks the text that Carly got came from none other than our new Captain America? I just get a vibe. Don't mind me. It's not impossible. Like I said, if you think about it, and again, this is me just throwing out this theory. It's not the theory I subscribe to, okay? Just be clear about that. But it would make sense. He talks in his interview about, I don't have super strength. There's nothing special about me. I'm the peak of physical human perfection. I'm the ultimate soldier, but I'm not enhanced. I'm not like Steve Trevor. I keep seeing Steve Trevor. I'm not like Steve Rogers was. And maybe, when he says, oh, we followed you, we weren't following them, we were following, maybe he was after super soldier serum that he wanted for himself. I don't know. It's possible, Russell. It's totally, totally possible. I don't think it's a crazy theory. I really don't. All right, next up. James Argento writes, Eli Bradley, a.k.a. Patriot, becomes a young Avenger candidate with Bishop, America Chavez, Cassie, Ms. Marvel, and Wiccan/Speed if they become real boys. Yeah, I still don't think. I'm not invested in this. If they do it, I'm not going to be shocked. But right now, I still don't think they're going to do a Young Avengers. But hey, they are bringing in all these characters. But just because the characters are there, that doesn't necessarily they're going to do Young Avengers. But it is possible. It's totally possible. And we all obviously know that Wiccan and Speed are on the table. That's going to be part of what Wanda's motivation is moving forward. So we'll see where that goes. All right, next up, Benjamin GL writes, I called Isaiah Bradley last week. Woo! $10. Sam gives him the shield at the end of the series. Also, please let Uncle Sam be Falcon's new name, not Cap. See, I can see something. I don't see him giving the shield to Isaiah because at the end of the day, the shield belongs to the government. And I think the government was cool with Sam having it because Captain America handed it to him. But hey, if he didn't want it, then the government had the right to come along. See, they didn't have to ask Sam's permission to give the shield to Walker, right? They didn't need his permission. It's not his shield. It's the government shield. And they were cool with Sam having it, but if he didn't want it, they were going to give it to somebody else. So I don't know if the government would be cool with them giving it to Isaiah at the end, but it'll be interesting if they do that. But see, I can see something like the other thing you're saying there, Benjamin, I can see something like that happening where maybe Falcon is no longer Falcon, but he's not necessarily Captain America. At the end of the day, there was only the one Cap. There is only one Cap. Nobody else can carry that name. It was only for Steve Rogers. And so he takes on another name. So maybe, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but maybe, just maybe. All right. Next up, inventory rights. John, I asked last month if Disney was bold enough to add any political and racial elements from the comics, and you quickly shot it down, calling it unwise and distracting. What are your thoughts now? I think they did a great job. I think they're handling it very, very subtly. And like, they're not going, well, first of all, remember, I remember the question, and I told you, it's not about whether they have the balls to do it or they're not bold enough to do it. It's about what makes for their best storytelling. And if that makes for their best storytelling, that's what they'll do. But it's not about them being bold. It's about them telling a good story. And yeah, I mean, the way they've done it so subtly, yet effectively, has been really great. It's been really great. I really didn't think they would necessarily go that way. And certainly, you know, what a lot of people thought going into Falcon and Winter Soldier was that Sam wanted to be Captain America, but because he was black, the government wouldn't let him be Captain America. And I just didn't think they would go that way, right? And sure enough, they didn't. But they're still using those elements, and you're right about that. They're using those elements in a subtle but effective way. And so far, they're doing a really, really good job of it. They're still doing a really, really good job of it. All right, next up. Cinda Flame writes, my takeaways from episode 2. They made the new guy human. I can't just blindly hate him. More super soldiers and Zemo. Yeah, that's the thing. They went out of their way. I thought that was a very, very smart thing to do. They start the episode showing us, look what a great guy this new Captain America is, right? And maybe that's all distraction. Maybe that's all misdirect. Maybe. But I thought it was a great decision to come right out of the gate. They wasted no time. This is a great guy. Listen to him talking to the love of his life. Listen to him talk to his committed and loyal best friend. Listen to, as he's talking to his friend about what his heart is for being Captain America. Like, that was really good. Like somebody said a little bit earlier, it isn't black and white. They're putting in lots of shades of gray in there. And I thought that was a really good move. All right, next up, Benjamin GL writes, I noticed a few weird cuts and continuity errors in the episode that seemed like they extended and reshot scenes. I hope that's not going to be a problem. I noticed one or two times, but it never became distracting to me. I will say this, and maybe you guys will agree with me, maybe you'll disagree with me. While I am very much, obviously, I'm very much enjoying this show, it doesn't feel as polished as, say, WandaVision did. WandaVision was executed, like, regardless of whether you like, I wanted Mephisto in the end, or I wanted Evan Peters to be Quicksilver, whatever you thought about the end. The overall production of WandaVision was so tight. It was so tight and so polished. It was executed with extreme excellence from a technical point of view, artistic point of view, narration point of view. That whole production was just so buttoned up perfect. I don't feel that way about Falcon and Winter Soldier. It just doesn't feel as buttoned up. You know what I mean? And I think, like what you're saying, the whole idea about, you know, there were some odd edits made, a few little continuity things here and there. Again, nothing that distracted me from enjoying the episode. None of it was a big deal. But I feel like right now you can just kind of feel it, you know? It's almost like you had two teams of people putting the same model together. And one model, a team spent 10 hours putting together, and another model, the team spent 5 hours putting together. And you can just sort of tell that the one that took 10 hours to put together, that they spent 10 hours doing it, is just cleaner. It's just a little bit more executed right. With the other one still being perfectly fine, but there are some edges that don't quite line up exactly with other pieces. Maybe a little bit of glue is showing on the bottom. Still perfectly good. And that's kind of a feeling I'm getting between WandaVision. I just felt like there's just a little bit more efficiency. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it other than that. Anyway, let's move on here. Next up, Sam Fisher writes, love this new episode. I'm glad that they made up for no Buck and Sam together in episode 1 with them together immediately. Not that they had to make up. Well, see, that's the thing. When I heard When we were talking about last week's episode, the fact that we didn't get Sam and Bucky together in episode 1, I said they needed to lay the narrative groundwork for where each of these guys are coming from right now. And I said, remember this? I said, believe me, the work they did in episode 1 is going to pay off for the rest of the series. Knowing so deeply the place that Bucky is in right now is already paying off. Like when we see him talking to Sam, and he says, maybe you shouldn't give the shield because maybe he wasn't right about you. And if he wasn't right about you, maybe he wasn't right about me. Like, oh, how powerful was that line when Bucky said that? And if he wasn't right about you, then he wasn't right about me. And it's like, oh my God, that was deep. But it wouldn't have had the same impact if we didn't get all that stuff with Bucky in episode 1. You know what I mean? So I didn't feel they needed to make up for it, but it kind of felt like they were trying to make up for lost time because they wasted no time. Bucky and Sam got together and boom, the chemistry was on and they were moving and I really liked it. All right. Next up, Sam also writes, they made it really hard for USA Agent not to be sympathetic. You get that he is just trying to do the best he can. He was offered this and he couldn't pass it up. I agree. That's something that we talked about a little bit earlier. I thought it was a very good decision creatively to show us that side of him first. I have a feeling we'll see the darker side to him a little bit later on, but it was a really good decision to introduce us to this side of him first, to keep us on our toes. I'll say that. All right, next up, Benjamin GL writes in, like a $15 super chat. Thank you, Benjamin. Writes in, regardless if this becomes more of a cliche Marvel story by the end, I think Kevin Feige has taken notice of the hunger for dramatic Marvel stories and will adjust in the future as he always has. And that's true. Like, we saw that right in episode 1, right? Of characters matter. Depth to story matters, even if you're doing comic book movies, because it just adds to it. Understanding the place that, like, what Sam has to deal with, even though he's an Avenger. The stuff that Bucky continues to wrestle with. I love that line from episode 1. She goes, you're free. And he goes, to do what? I mean, it was just so good. And the fact that they're continuing to layer that in with their ongoing stories is nothing but a positive, Benjamin. You're absolutely right about that. It is nothing but a positive and a really good sign for where they're going to be going as we move forward. All right, next up, Sam Fisher writes, I think the kid in Isaiah's house was his grandson, Eli. I think that was pretty clear. Known in the comics as Patriot, he was the first Cap in Young Avengers before America Chavez. Yeah, here's the thing about Kevin Feige. What we as comic book material fans do is, as soon as we recognize an Easter egg, we start to plot out, this is going to mean everything moving forward. We may never see this character again. We may never see him again. But this is, once again, just Kevin Feige and his team recognizing, well, if we're going to have Isaiah there, we should have Eli there. And that's just a special treat for people who understand the comics and know the background of that. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going anywhere with it. Now listen, at the same time, don't misquote me. I'm not sitting here definitively telling you, well, get over it. We're never going to see Eli again. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying if I had to bet $1 on it, I'd probably bet $1 that we won't. But I wouldn't bet $2. That's how uncertain I am about it. You know what I mean? But yeah, quite often Kevin Feige will throw in that little extra character or that one other connection just to make it feel more rooted, I guess, in the comic book lore that people who have read the comics know. So maybe it was for just that. Maybe it was something deeper down the line. We'll find out as we move forward. All right, Sam also writes, Marvel has been spoiling us for years, but not only do we get USA Agent and Flag Smashers, but also Isaiah Bradley, Eli Bradley, and the Power Brokers. Well, again, at least glimpses of them. We'll see how much they play into this moving forward. We'll see how much they play into it moving forward. But again, it's just neat that Kevin Feige can flesh out all these different scenes with anything, him and his team, and they choose to put in things that are more recognizable, and I think that's a pretty cool thing. And maybe it does lead to something bigger down the line. We'll see. All right, Sam also writes, 1 of 2. You heard the theory that the Flag Smashers are being funded by U.S. government to give Cap a threat, and the Flag Smashers aren't the real bad guy. I like this theory. Maybe Walker is in on it. Maybe he's not. It would fit with his comic origins and staged attacks to make Cap look bad theory. Well, I mean, the one thing I remember seeing somebody write to me that they thought that the whole Flag Smashers thing was all a setup, was all a ruse, to make the new Cap look good. But the one drawback with that theory is, according to episode 1, the Flag Smashers have been in operation for a little bit before Sam ever decided to give up the shield and put the shield in a museum, right? So if the government was actually, this was all like a government funded thing and a government planned thing, well, what happens if Sam decided he was going to keep the shield and fight with the shield and, you know, represent the shield? Well, then that becomes a problem, right? So I don't know. So I'm not sure about that one, but I do think this current Captain America may have his hands a little more tied into things than we know right now. All right. Next up, Evelyn writes, the scene with the cops. I couldn't believe Marvel put something so real. Notice how one of the cops had his hand on his gun while Bucky defends Sam. Yeah. And again, they didn't smash it overhead, right? You had two grown men in a neighborhood, like audibly arguing and yelling at each other in the streets, and they had the cops pull up, but they're turning their aggro onto Sam. And then ultimately it's Bucky that's the one that gets arrested, right? So they get out of the car, their aggro is on Sam, but then it turns out in the end that Bucky's the one that got arrested. Yeah, it's not something you expect them to go into. But here's the other thing, this Marvel stuff, they don't just do things for no reason. So that is something that's going to have to be, we're going to have to remember that scene. I have a feeling that scene is something that's going to be brought up again at some point. As inconsequential as the scene felt, I think it's going to be brought up again at some point. So we'll have to see. All right, Brazilian dude writes, over, under, above, or below 30%, Sam gets the super soldier serum by the end. I'm going to go under. By the way, feel kind of bad, but I like John Walker and thought Sam Bucky were really mean to him. Oh no, that is how it came across. It looked like Walker was really trying. I mean, and everything he was saying was making sense. He goes, you have a better chance if we work on this together. They did show up to assist them in their fight on the trucks and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, you get where Sam and Bucky are coming from. They're not only their best friend, but let's face it, their hero. Steve is their hero and their best friend. To see this other guy walking around with their best friends and their hero's name, costume, and shield, and the guy calling himself Captain America, that's going to rub them the wrong way. Even if he is being genuine, even if he is trying to be super nice and diplomatic, and even if he is making sense, that's going to rub you the wrong way. And I didn't think Sam or Bucky went overboard with their angst. I thought it was played out really well. Yeah. And then finally, I also kind of like it at the end where John Walker was like, look, there's a job to be done. And I am trying my best to be diplomatic with you two jackalopes. I got you out of jail. Me and Battlestar were there to help you when you guys were starting to get your asses kicked. I've been polite. I've been nice. I've offered to let you in on the mission and you keep returning it down. Fine. There's a job to be done. So stay out of my way then. Right? I like that he stood his ground on that. I like that he did that. Now, some people, my buddy's like, oh, he's starting to show his darker side. And I'm like, I don't know, man. To me, that makes me respect him a little more. He's not just going to be pushed around by Sam and Bucky. He's not just going to be their walking mat. He's not just going to be there for them to, oh, we're just going to make fun of you all we want. And it's like, no, okay, fine. Look, you want to turn down my help? You want to be ungrateful for the fact that I just got you out of prison? You want to ignore the common sense I'm talking about? This will go better if we work together. You want to do all that? Fine. But make no mistake, I am now Captain America. So stay out of my way then. And I like that he put his foot down. It kind of made me respect him a little bit more. Now, obviously, to me, he's not really Captain America, but still, I respected that. I thought that was a good scene. Anyway, he'll probably turn heel. There will probably come a heel turn. But no. We'll find out. We'll find out how far. But as far as Sam getting the super soldier serum, it ain't impossible. I wouldn't go under 10%, but I will go under 30. There's got to be something that differentiates him from Bucky, from Cap. Like, they can't just all super soldier serum for everybody. So it's possible. Like I said, I won't go under 10%, but I'll go under 30. All right, next up. Really Tired 64 writes, is old Steve Rogers still alive during this? I believe he is. They never said otherwise. The way they refer to him in the past tense makes it seem like maybe he died off camera. I think if he were, okay, episode 1, they clearly were playing with our emotions a little bit when we saw Sam getting dressed for what looked like he was getting ready for a funeral. And all of us like, oh God, no, he's going to Steve's funeral. No. And it wasn't going to his funeral, right? I have a feeling that if Steve had died, we would have heard that by now. I think they would have said something if Steve had died. So I'm going to guess he's still alive. And I still think, however unlikely, there is a tiny, tiny percentage chance that joke in episode 1, where the guy says to Sam, you know, there's a rumor going around that Captain America's on the moon. I won't be surprised if at some point it turns out he actually is on some base on the moon. I wouldn't put money on that. I would not put money on that, but I'm just saying it would be absolutely hilarious if it turns out he is just kind of hanging out on the moon right now. Okay, next up. Sam Fisher writes, I love Buck and Sam reaction to John Walker. Their reactions are so different, but so in character. Disappointment for Sam and anger for Buck. Absolutely. They both played it perfectly right. Bucky, angry. Sam, disappointed and hurt. I mean, there's a lot that plays into that, right? And I thought they played both of them absolutely perfectly, Sam. All right, next up. Benjamin GL writes, fun fact. We've seen the trailer shots of new Cap. When I noticed that during the truck fight, I almost thought to myself, about to die, and this is how Sam gets his shield back. Wouldn't that have been funny if they just like killed him off in his first real episode? If Walmart Captain America was they just introduced him and they kill him off in the first episode. And by the way, there is a possibility here that he stays good guy and maybe he does die at the end, you know, valiantly, heroically. And Sam is like, if this guy who never knew Steve can stand up for what Steve believed in and die for it, I can too. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm just daydreaming a little bit. Now I'm just getting a little carried away and daydreaming a bit. All right, next up. We've got Evelyn who writes, I got to give it to Sebastian Stan in the therapy, how his voice cracks when he says, if he was wrong about you, he was wrong about me. And seriously, I think, you know, we all know Anthony Mackie is an exceptional actor. Like he's not just serviceable or good. He's an exceptional actor. I think because of how limited Bucky has been asked to portray things a lot, we underestimate just how good Sebastian Stan is. Sebastian Stan's a very, very good actor too. And you're right, that scene, both the scene with the therapist and this scene when he says to him, if he's wrong about you, he was wrong about me. I love that line so much. It was the line of the episode. It was the moment of the episode for me. I loved it and it played off great. All right, Sam writes, I love the callback to Bucky's Wakandan name, White Wolf, even though in the comics, White Wolf is a different character. T'Challa's adopted white brother. True. Yeah, but you got to remember, they kind of bestowed that name on him in the previous movie, right? In Infinity War, they bestowed that name on him. So I like that. And I by the way, I also really liked when the kid called Sam Black Falcon. Just Falcon. What are you? Is your name Black Kid? I love that line. That was great. I loved it. Anyway, next up, Sam writes, was it just me or were Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan trying to stop from laughing the entire therapy session? I wouldn't doubt it because, you know, at the end of WandaVision, they had that WandaVision making of documentary special. I won't doubt it at all that they're going to do the same thing for Falcon and Winter Soldier. And I will not be surprised in the least if they were actually really trying not to break. Because I see what you're sensing there, and I won't be surprised if we find out that's exactly what they were going for. All right, next up, Sam writes, for the soul, for the stare part, yeah, I completely agree. Hero75 writes, Maybe it was just me, but what Walker seemed to get really upset that Falcon and Bucky kept calling him by his first name instead of Captain America. I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong. You could be right. I'm just saying that I never personally picked up on that. Like, he didn't seem to get finally frustrated with him until they kept rejecting his offers to work together. I mean, he gets them out of prison. Him and Battlestar save them on top of the truck and all that kind of stuff. He finally, but I don't know. I think if you're not dumb, you would understand that Captain America's two closest friends might have an issue calling you Captain America. So anyway, maybe if I watch it again, Hero, maybe I'll notice that too. But just my first time viewing it, I didn't notice that. But maybe others did. What about you guys? It seemed, for you guys in the live chat, did it seem like he was getting annoyed that they weren't calling him Captain America? Because he never actually told them, guys, please call me Captain America. Like, I never felt that even when he introduced himself to them, he first calls himself John Walker, Captain America, right? He first introduces himself as John Walker. So I didn't get that. But again, maybe Hero, yeah, a bunch of people in the live chat are saying they didn't notice it either. So, but who knows? Maybe if I watch it again, maybe I'll start to pick up on that. Okay. Let's move on here. Where are we at? 1 second. Okay. Next up. We are at, that was Hero. Next up, we've got Entertain Nerd Studios writes. Great episode, but it felt weird most of the time that there were some lines that cringe. Writing issues? Still enjoyed it nevertheless. Believe Wyatt Russell is here to stay. I mean, could be. Maybe he dies at the end. Maybe he turns bad. Maybe he is the next Captain America. I don't know. But you're going to have to give me some... I didn't feel like any particular lines were cringy. You got to give me an example, Entertainer. You got to give me an example. To me, there was a couple of weird moments, like the therapy moments together. That was a little bit weird. The fact that Bucky, with no explanation, just walks onto a military base and just proclaims, well, then I'm coming with you. I'm getting on the military plane, and this government sanctioned thing. I mean, that was a little bit odd to me, I suppose, but I didn't notice any dialogue that was particularly cringy. But maybe write in a little bit later about maybe an example of a line that didn't catch you right. All right, next up, Benjamin GL writes, over under 5%, we see old Cap show up. Also, over under 70%, they're going to slowly tease us with Cap's ultimate fate until revealing what happened to him. Oh, over 70% of that. I think I think whether he's on the moon or he's in a retirement home or he's, off, I don't know. Maybe he's hanging out with Mr. Yori, the guy the father of the dead son. I don't know. Maybe they'll do that. I will go over 5% that we see Steve Rogers. Now, listen, I'm saying over 5%. I'm not saying over 20%. I'm not saying over 50%. But if you're going to set the number that low at 5%, I will go over 5% that Steve Rogers shows up. Again, I'm not saying he will show up. I'm just saying 5% is a very, very low number. So I will take over. Flash question for you guys. Over or under 5%. Just write over or under in the live chat. Over or under 5% that we see Steve Rogers by the end of the series. Remember, just 5%. You're not saying he is going to show up. You're just saying whether you think it's higher or lower than 5%. Jump in there and start firing off what you say. Once the we're seeing over, under, over. Oh gosh, like over. There's a few unders, under, over. Seems a little. I'm going to say it's leaning towards over. I'm seeing a few more overs than under. Like somebody, who was it? Somebody in there just said 6%. 6%. Sean Fielder, right? 6%. So very, very close. I'm seeing a bunch of unders. I feel like we're seeing a few more overs than under. So again, none of us are saying that he will. We're not saying over 50%, but I think over 5%. We'll go with that. All right. Thanks for participating in that, guys. All right. Next up, Evelyn writes, I do call BS on people accepting so easy this new Cap. Like, where is the rage we see in real life when someone even mentions recasting Chris Evans? Well, this wasn't them recasting Chris Evans. This isn't the new Steve Trevor. I keep saying Steve Trevor. Steve Rogers. This isn't the new Steve Rogers. This is a different dude. It's a different character. And they just did such a good job coming out of the gate showing that he's a really good guy. But I don't think we've seen everything with him yet. I still think there are shadowy corners to him we're going to find out. Now, I'm not necessarily saying I think he's the big bad guy, but you know, we already said, I think there's a chance he might be the one. I'd give it maybe 20% chance that he's the one that sent the threatening text to the leader of the Flag Smashers saying, I'm going to kill you. You took something that's mine. I'm going to kill you. Maybe that was him. So I don't know. We'll find out. Let's see. Wait a second. Somebody's saying John didn't get the question. What question are we talking about? I think she means in-universe outrage. Oh, I see what you're saying. That nobody in the world was mad that they were just appointed a new Captain America. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I'll just stick with what I said before. All right, next up. Where are we at? We're at Orange Hand, who writes, I couldn't help but think of the Key and Peele sketch about the Power Falcons. I don't remember that sketch. And I love Key and Peele. I don't remember that sketch about the Power Falcons, and they keep calling Peele's Green Falcon the Black Falcon. Hilarious. I don't remember that, but now I'm going to have to go look it up. Now I'm going to have to go look and see if I can find that. All right, next up. A-Train A writes, 2 nitpicks. Number 1, as a young black raised in Baltimore, the cops never stopped me so abruptly. Felt too forced, could have been handled better. But remember, it wasn't, this is why I felt like it was a little bit more subtle. Because it's not like Sam and Bucky were just walking down the street and the cops just decided to pull them over. Remember, they were like, they're standing in the middle of the street, like getting in each other's face and having a raised voice argument. So I think that made it a little bit of a different situation. A-Train then follows up. Number 2, how many times will we learn that there were more super soldiers and more super serums out there? Actor for Isaiah was amazing. Best scene in the show. That dude was great. I remember kicking your ass. That was good. That was so good. Yes. The one thing I do worry about is, you know, Cap was supposed to get the last of it. Bucky got a version of it. How many more are there out there? They always talked about how they were never able to truly replicate the serum or to replicate it properly. You know? So, but now it's all out there. Now it's out there everywhere. Like you get super soldier serum and you get super soldier serum and you get super soldier serum. Is that going to become a new thing? I hope not. I hope not. Marcus is writing in the live chat. It's not about the serum. It's about the finest chicken livers. I did love that line. I love that line. I also like the live comment saying, Isaiah's real last name is Mephisto. Mephisto is confirmed. There you go. It's Mephisto. Everybody's Mephisto. You get to be Mephisto and you get to be Mephisto. Mark Blazer writes, I've seen some reactors say that Cap did not use a handgun, but I recall he used a handgun in the montage. Oh, any reactor saying Cap never used a handgun never watched Captain America: The First Avenger. Steve Rogers definitely used guns. He definitely used guns. Plus, don't forget this. If you want to talk about the modern Cap, okay, let's go there. Steve Rogers also had superhuman abilities. Speed, healing, strength, reflexes. Everything about Steve Rogers was extreme, right? He was super powered. John Walker does not have superpowers. What's he supposed to do? Go running into a fight saying, yay! He carries a gun. He's a soldier. He's a soldier. Of course he carries a gun. And yes, the Steve Rogers Cap also did use a gun. So there's that. All right, next up. Timothy Platt writes, the entire Baltimore scene was a huge kick in the nards. It was too real and I wasn't ready. Hit me harder than anything Marvel has ever done before. And they've done that in a couple of ways, right? Like, I think they even did that. The fact that they are rooting a lot of what would be considered reality in such a fantastical world of Marvel, but like, dude is having to deal with grief and guilt and has to go to therapy. Sam is having to deal with the financial realities of being gone for so long. His family's home might go. His family's boat might go. All that kind of stuff. The scene in Baltimore. I mean, they're doing a lot of this type of stuff. And it's They're doing it really effectively. They're doing it really, really effectively, and I think it's adding to the show. Anyway, next up, Purple Queen writes, this episode was amazing. The chemistry between Sebastian Stan and Anthony Mackie makes it enjoyable to view every week. Love their banter. Yeah, I agree too. Now, again, I don't think they have the best chemistry I've ever seen, but it's really good. And I'm hoping that as the show progresses, we'll get into it more and more. But right now, it is really, really working for me, Purple. It is really, really working for me. All right, next up, K Major writes, I couldn't stop smiling when Sam and Buck were on screen together. The first time, their banter is awesome. It absolutely, even when they're just sitting behind, they're hiding behind the one wall, the shelves, right? And it's like, there's two of them. Come on. Oh, there's two of them. Let's see what Redbird sees. Oh, look, 3, 4, 5. I mean, I was just the sarcastic tone they take with each other. It goes all the way back to when they were both in the car while Captain America was kissing Agent Carter. And like, Bucky's in this backseat. Can you move the chair up? No. It just reminded me of that chemistry they already kind of had there. So it worked really well for me. And yeah, RIP Red Wing. All right, next up, K Major writes, so, the new guy is just a guy trying to do his job as a soldier. I hope they don't turn him into a character that we have to hate, but I feel like he's definitely dying by the end of the season. I mean, it all depends. It all depends on what direction they're going to go with him. Now, because in the comic books, like, John Walker wasn't a villain per se. He wasn't a villain. It's just that his ideals and the ideals of the real Captain America didn't exactly line up. And that's all I'll say about that. So do they go with that? Or do they stick with, he's just a guy who really does love the ideals of Steve Rogers. And he really is trying to model himself after Steve Rogers without Steve Rogers' superpowers. And he's just trying to do right by his country. And maybe in the end, he wins the respect of Sam and Bucky and ends up dying. Maybe. Or maybe they go a little more comic booky and they start to find some very fundamental differences with this Steve. So we'll see. We'll see how it becomes. All right, next up. Shreya writes, oh, just subscribe. Oh, we have a subscriber. I didn't know I could get subscription things. Hold on a second. Let me check this out here. Oh yeah, I don't want to have subscribers come up here, but thank you for subscribing nonetheless. I appreciate that. All right, hold on a second. We got to get back down to where the questions were. Because more of a cliche. Okay, how far do we go? We got through A Train, Purple Queen, K Major. Yes, there we go. Okay, now we're up to Mr. 47 who writes, another brilliant episode. The way the show effortlessly blends action, drama, and comedy, just like most MCU stories, is masterful. Yeah, you really picked up on that in this episode. And again, what I hope doesn't happen, I hope we don't start to expect that every single episode there has to be a big major action set piece. We've had 2 episodes and 2 things, and I'll love it if they do, but I just hope we don't go through one where they give us some great drama, some great story, and people go, oh, I was boring because there was no explosions, you know? I just hope that doesn't happen. I hope that doesn't happen. All right. But I agree. It really already has been a really nice mixture of heavier drama, good narrative, comedy and humor, and action. It's kind of it's not the best MCU thing I've ever seen, but they're doing a really nice mixture of it, and it's making it really, really entertaining. All right. Next up, FP Cat writes, the scene with the police stopping Bucky and Falcon was amazing. The way they treated them differently was so realistic. This show is very well done. And again, yeah, we've talked about that scene a couple times already. The fact that their aggro was directed at Sam when they got out, and then kind of a humorous irony that at the end they ended up arresting Bucky, which I thought was really good. All right, K Major writes, Battlestar is such a stupid name. Yes, it is. He has a punchable face. He has a punchable face like his buddy. Oh, I agree. I do not like the name Battlestar. Just because, don't take the name of one of the greatest, the greatest television show in history, Battlestar Galactica. Do not take that name, Battlestar. Ridiculous name. I hate it. And he does have a punchable face, but he's a very likable guy. He appears to be a very likable. Like, I really did like that scene when it was early in the episode, and John and him were talking, and John Walker's just like, I mean, shaking hands and doing press and answering questions. I just want to do the job. And Battlestar says to him, very wise, he says, this is the job. Like being an inspiration to people, being out there doing the PR stuff, that's every bit as much of the job as going out there and punching the bad guys in the face. I really did like that moment with him. But yeah, I hate the name, K Major. I hate the name. All right, next up. Timothy Platt writes, new Cap seemed like a nice enough guy. You think he's going to end up as another one of those good guy gone bad because more famous good guy was a jerk tropes? Possibly. I mean, it could be one of those things where maybe Sam and Bucky just rebuff him so much and keep rejecting him and demeaning him that he finally goes, F you guys. And I don't know, maybe I don't know. We got to remember this is just a 6-episode series. There's only 4 episodes left. Let that sink in for a second. There's only 4 episodes left. We had 5 episodes of WandaVision before we only had 4 episodes left. We are already at just 4 episodes left. So I don't know how much they'll go with that. I have a feeling it'll be revealed that he's got ulterior motives, or he'll die a hero. I'm telling you, there is a chance, however small, that maybe he dies a hero in this thing. I don't know. And I can hear, but Judd, in the comic books, I know, but this isn't the comic books. They might follow the comic books. They might, but they may not. We've seen plenty of times that Kevin Feige doesn't follow the comic books, and he uses that to his advantage. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. All right, next up. Ryan Lohner writes, Carl Lumbly is now another Marvel DC crossover actor. He played Martian Manhunter's. That's right. He was Martian Manhunter's father in Supergirl. You're absolutely right. I really by the way, I hated Supergirl, but the dynamic between him and his son in that was really nice. It was a nice dynamic and a nice father-son relationship in that. And he's pretty good. I totally forgot that he played his dad in that. Bang on, Ryan. Thank you for letting me know about that. I totally forgot that was him, and I really liked him as that too. All right, so now he's played two super-powered beings in 2 different cinematic universes. All right, next up. Live in Spirals writes, sends in like a $50 super chat. Thank you very much, Live in Spirals, for supporting the channel on that level, man. We really appreciate that, dude. He writes in, loving the show, but I believe I can see how things will play out. Well, we all feel like we know how they're going to play out, but do they? Anyway, let's go. For instance, the ending will be the co-workers scene at his house. The co-workers scene at his house. They will also share the shield moving forward. Sam might get his own cap suit too. I can see the hot toy now. Well, that would be a hell of a hot toy. So, for instance, the ending will be the co-workers scene at his house. I don't know what that means. The co-workers scene at his house. Do any of you guys in the live chat know what Live in Spirals is specifically talking about? I'm going to keep an eye on the chat here. The co-worker scene in his house. Who's the co-worker? I'm not really sure. Okay, so let's talk about the second part about that they share the shield. The thing that's problematic. Oh, you're talking about from the promo clips. Oh, okay. I'm like, what happened in this episode with? Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Okay, I get it. All right. So the thing that becomes problematic, and we've talked about this since before Cap and Winter Soldier, or before Falcon and Winter Soldier began, is that where Sam served in the military with honor and distinction, was a hero. Yes, he was on the right side of Civil War, but by the government's point of view, the wrong side of Civil War. He was still a big hero and all this kind of stuff. Winter Soldier, though, even though he's been pardoned, having Winter Soldier carry the shield could be an issue for the U.S. government, right? Because he spent 80 years as an assassin. Granted, he was under somebody else's control. Everybody gets that. That's why he was pardoned. but can he be that symbol of hope and inspiration in that world? I don't know that he can. But it would narratively be very romantic. You know, Bucky's lifelong best friend now getting to at least partially take up his mantle. There could be something to that. I just think they're going to have to work out how that would be a problem, probably for the government at that time, letting something like that happen. But who knows, man? Stranger things have happened. Stranger things have happened. All right, next up. We've got Dirk Walker, who writes, I hope Bucky ends up keeping the shield. Just based on fighting style, Bucky would have more use for it. Falcon's wings already keep him protected. Yeah, there was actually, it happened very, very fast. But did you guys catch that one moment in the episode where like John Walker, Captain America shows up, they're fighting. He throws a shield, bounces off a guy, and Buck catches it. Just boom, Buck, just like that, catches it, and then just drops it to John Walker too, right? It's like, yeah, Bucky could handle that shield. He can handle it. Again, I don't know that he'll end up with it. I would cheer, but I just don't know that they're going to do that. We'll have to see which way they go with it. All right, next up. The Jedi Brandon writes, Sam and Bucky on top of each other in a flower field will forever be engraved into my brain. I can't even imagine how Anne reacted to that. You know what? Anne was in bed. Anne did not watch Falcon and Winter Soldier with me last night. She got up and watched it this morning. She had a very early meeting, Zoom conference meeting this morning. So she couldn't stay up and watch it. She had to be in bed by like 10. And the show for me here in Los Angeles started at midnight, and she had to be in bed by 10. So while I was doing the John Campea Show this morning and she was in between meetings, she jumped out and watched Falcon and Winter Soldier. So I haven't got to see her reaction to the show yet. All right, next up, but she probably did enjoy that. Dario JL writes, I have a feeling we will finally get that Captain America death scene, but the John Walker one, although his comic book story arc is different. Yeah, but everything in the MCU is different from the story arcs in the comic books. There are thematic similarities, but they quite often go totally off book and do a completely different thing in the MCU. So that's why I'm not going to be shocked if he lives. I'm not going to be shocked if he dies. Now let's get one or two more episodes in and maybe I'll start to develop a more firm theory. But right now, I mean, just because it's in the comic book really doesn't mean much. They could follow it, but they very easily couldn't. So we'll see what they do. Dario. All right, next up. Dirk Walker writes, I hope the new Cap keeps the mantle even after losing the shield, and he and Battlestar show up in other MCU shows and movies when the government needs to interfere. I don't know. Like, because what is special about him without the shield? He doesn't have Cap's strength. He doesn't have Cap's speed. He doesn't have Cap's healing. He's just a dude. He's just a really good soldier. Without the shield, I don't know. And they very well could make him heal. They could make him a giant heel. They could give him a big heel turn. So I don't know, but we'll see. All right. Paths Unwritten writes, are they ever going to acknowledge that it's not even the same shield? For being such a pivotal plot point, we have no idea where this one came from. It very well could be the same shield. I mean, there's a lot unknown, right? There's a lot unknown about this point, but it very well could be. There's nothing definitively say it's not the same shield. But John, the shield cracked and broke. It could still be the same shield. It could be. It could be one that Steve picked up in another timeline. He may have got it repaired. I mean, he might have grabbed, I forget Tony Stark's dad's name. He might have grabbed the senior Stark at some point and had him fix it for him. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities. All we know is that we don't actually know what happened to the shield at this point. There's a lot of different possibilities. So we'll see where they go with that. All right, next up. Ryan Holman writes, if Steve was wrong about you, then he's wrong about me, with such a powerful line and raw emotion. Really enjoying this show. Completely agree. Howard Stark, thank you everybody in the live chat. Spirit Man, Luis, Larry, NS Guy, V-Rock, everybody. Yes, Howard Stark, thank you. That line is amazing. Not just because it's a great one-liner. If he's wrong about you, then he was wrong about me. It speaks to the soul of Bucky. He's not even sure he has value. It feels, that line tells us that maybe the only thing that keeps him hanging on, that I am a good guy. I don't know if I'm a hero, but I'm a good man. And the only reason he holds on to that, despite the nightmares, despite the guilt, despite the darkness, and despite the memories, the only thing that keeps him hanging on to this idea that I am a good man was the fact that Steve Rogers believed in me. So if Steve Rogers believed in me, then I can believe that I'm a good man. And when he says, with all that pain he's trying to hold back in, if he was wrong about you, Sam Wilson, then he was wrong about me. And I'm not a good man. And I am hopeless. And I can't be salvaged. You know, something like that. There was so much in that. There was so much in that line. I deeply, deeply, deeply love that line. My favorite line of the episode, probably of the show so far. Rylan also writes, well, I'm not totally sold on John Walker. I hope they don't make him a villain. It seems too easy of a plot path. It would add more character to him to go a different way. Well, listen, I don't know that it would be easy to keep him good. I don't know that it'd be easy to take him bad. I don't know if it'd be easy just to say he quits. It is so easy for us to say it's easy, right? It's easy for us to say that's easy. It's not easy. Whatever they decide to do with John Walker, whether they keep him hero, turn him heel, have him die, have him live, whichever direction they decide to go in, they're going to have to make it compelling and believable and have richness of narrative and make it solid and engaging and entertaining for us as an audience. And I don't think there's an easy path. Keeping him as a good guy is not the easy way to do it. Making him turn villain when they've introduced us to him as a good guy is not an easy thing to do. I don't think there's any easy path here. They're going to have to earn it. Whatever they do with him. Good guy, bad guy, live or die, they're going to have to earn it, and it's not going to be easy, whichever way they go. So I'm just willing to sit here and say, I'm not one of these guys that goes, they need to do this with this character, and no, I just want to see whatever they're going to do with him. And as long as what they do with him is compelling and engaging as a character, whether that means good guy or bad, live or die, if they can do that, that's all I want to see them accomplish. So we'll see, Ryland. We'll see which way they go with that. All right, next up. Josh Bing writes, first I said that Cap's theme music, he's not worthy. Then, okay, he threw the shield pretty good. But then he's got his own Bucky too. Not worthy. Yeah, I know, right? But I guess it would make sense to play, if you're saying this is Captain America, which I completely reject, but if you're saying this is Captain America, then you can play the Captain America theme music with him. Is he worthy of it? Well, I think, judging by this episode, John Walker would be the first guy to tell you that he's not worthy of it, right? He's just going to do his best. And yeah, being just a normal human being with no superpowers like Steve Rogers did, it's very, very important that he has help, that he has a partner. And for him, it's Battlestar, even if Battlestar is a completely ridiculous name. All right, next up. Not worthy. I like that. Next up, Tyler Pfeiffer writes, I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but I finally remembered where I saw Wyatt Russell. Overlord. Wasn't that Overlord? Great movie, good actor, hope his character is full-on villain. I wonder if you mean Overlord. Hold on a second. Let me just check this out. Hold on a second. Wyatt Russell, IMDb. Because I don't remember him. I liked Overlord, by the way. I like that movie. Man, he looks like, you know what he looks like? He looks like Jason, that other Jason. Yeah, Overlord. That's what you're thinking of. Yeah, Overlord. I liked Overlord. I did. Hold on a second. You know who he looks like to me? Like a lot? Hold on a second. Jason Clarke. He looks like Jason Clarke to me. Let me see if I can bring this up. I'm not positive I can. So you look at this picture of him, right? Let me see if I can get a wider. Okay. Look at that picture of him, right? Let's bring up Jason Clarke. You tell me he doesn't look a bit like Jason Clarke? Come on. Does Jason Clarke and Wyatt Russell not look? Come on, look at that picture. Look at that picture. All right. And now we go, come on, doesn't that kind of look like Jason Clarke with a beard? Look at this picture in particular right here in the shadows of it. I think he looks like Jason Clarke. I mean, not like the spitting image of Jason Clarke. I'm not saying, oh, they could pass for twin brothers. I totally think they look a lot alike. He talks like him too. He delivers his line like Jason Clarke. Anyway, all of you in the live chat who's saying you totally see it, you're very smart, intelligent, sharp eye-sighted people. Those of you saying you don't think he looks like him, you should go to the eye doctor because your eyes are sick because you don't see it the way I see it. So you guys, your eyes have eye COVID. I have no idea what I'm talking about. Okay, let's move on here. Joser Miez writes, U.S. agent and Battlestar seem like if Captain and Falcon signed the Sokovia Accords and worked with the U.S. government, 50-50 that John Walker is a bad guy. I agree it's 50-50 right now. I honestly think it's 50-50. I have no idea which way they're going to go with him. He very well could die the hero. He could easily be the guy sending that girl the text messages threatening to kill her. I mean, it really could go either way. And so I am 100% with you on that, Jose. It's 50-50. It's totally 50-50. All right, we got time for one more question, and then we're going to take just a short little break so I can go refill my drink. We're about an hour in right now. So we're going to go with James Lockman, who writes, sends in like a $20 super chat. Thank you, James Lockman, for supporting our channel on that level, man. And James writes, I thought nothing could outdo last week's killer opening action sequence, but this week's one topped it in my opinion. I thought Wyatt Russell was really good in Overlord. I'm looking forward to seeing more from him in future projects. I gotta tell you, I like him so far. I like him as this. I'm not saying I like John Walker. I'm saying I really like him playing this role. I thought I would just insta-hate him because, look, Captain America is nowhere near my top 20 favorite comic book characters. But Chris Evans, Steve Rogers, Captain America is my absolute favorite MCU character by a mile. By a mile. Number one is him. Number two is Thor. But Captain America, so I was just instantly ready to just not like Wyatt Russell at all in the role because it's not Chris Evans. Because it's not the Captain America. But I gotta tell you, man, I like him. I think he's doing a really good job playing this role. He's making me believe this character. And, you know, the way he's playing it, it kind of makes you feel like, come on, guys, give him a chance. Like as Bucky and Sam keep rebuffing him, you're kind of like, come on, guys, come on. Campea, before the show started, you hated the idea of anybody Captain America. I know, I still do, but look how nice he is. He's a nice guy. Cut him some slack, right? I don't know. And maybe that's just because of the way that Russell Wyatt is playing it. I don't know. I think so. All right. Again, thanks a lot for that, James. I appreciate you sending that in, dude. Okay, guys, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take about 3 or 4 minutes here. I'm going to go refill my drink, give you guys a chance to talk amongst yourself, run, grab something to eat, go use the bathroom, whatever it is you have to do. Don't go anywhere, guys. We will be right back with more of your comments and questions. See you in just a minute. All right, guys, and we are back. Thank you for your patience as indulgence. I went and got myself a refill on my drink. Let's now get right back to your guys' comments and questions. Dominic Signor writes, "Greetings, John. I love this show. The episode really builds the world now, but I'm frustrated. I want to know more about the chaos, the returned people, and what happened immediately after Endgame. Will we ever get that?" I don't think we need it. I don't think we need to have that. What I do think they'll do, though, is in the upcoming, both in more episodes of Falcon and Winter Soldier and probably in Hawkeye and others, I think we'll get a glimpse. They'll just more and more as the show's progress. Like, we're not going to get a show about the return. I don't think. Maybe they will. I mean, I don't know, but I don't think they will. But what I think they'll do is more and more as the shows progress, I think they'll reveal more about what it was like and all that kind of stuff. So they are doing a very, very open, and I just noticed he sent like a $68 super chat. Thank you for that, Dominic. I think what they'll do is, they'll bit by bit start to reveal. Like, for example, this entire Flag Smashers, whatever they're called, like their whole gig is that it was better before people came back. I mean, that's a kind of a nasty thing to say about, like, I wish you were all still dead. But there was one line they said in that episode, Dominic, that I thought was really interesting. When they were talking to each other, when the leader of them was saying, these government organizations, they care more about the people that came back than those of us who were here all along. And I thought, you know what? That's interesting. That kind of gives us a little bit of an insight into, how they feel, how bad things may have gotten after everybody came back and returned. I mean, so it gives us a little bit of that, but the very fact that they're there in the story, I think we're going to learn more about what makes them tick, why they feel that way, which means showing us a little bit more of what happened in that world. Again, I don't think we need an entire show about it, but I think they'll start to reveal it more in Falcon and the Winter Soldier and in upcoming series moving forward, particularly probably in Hawkeye. Because he gets his wife and his kids back, and maybe they'll deal with some of that aftermath. I'm not sure, but we'll see. We'll see how that all goes. Anyway, again, thanks for supporting the show on that. That's an excellent question. Let's see how they choose to reveal that as they move forward, Dominic. Thanks a lot for sending that in, man. All right, Marie Seifring writes, "So Sam and Bucky are to ask Zemo for information. I think by the end of episode 3, they end up breaking him out of jail. Thanks." I mean, yeah, listen, I was talking to somebody the other day, a friend of mine, and he was saying, I bet you they're going to pull a 48 hours. Now, for those of you who never saw the Eddie Murphy, Nick Nolte classic 48 hours, Nick Nolte, the cop, needs Eddie Murphy, the con, to help break a case. So he gets him out. He signs him out of jail for 48 hours. I will not be surprised at all if, like, in the next episode, a Zemo thing is like, yeah, I could give you the information. I'm doing a terrible Baron Zemo impersonation, by the way. I do not sound like Daniel Bruhl at all, but I could give you the information, but only if you take me with you out of this godforsaken place. Even if it's just for a few days. You got to take me, or you'll never, this guy is the one who has the information, but he'll never give it to you. He'll only give it to me. You'll have to take me with you, or something like that. They could do that. They could totally do that. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. All right. Our PR writes, thanks for that, Marie. PR writes, love cop partner rivalry. I love the cop partner rivalry between Sam and Bucky versus John and Lamar, or Battlestar as they call them. I agreed. I I want to see, even if it's just because they're getting mad at each other, like neither good guy or bad guy, they're just mad at each other. If we get to see a 4-way fight where Buck and Sam fight Battlestar and Cap, that would be kind of fun to see. I'd be down for that PR. All right, James Lockman writes, just in like a $20 super chat. Thank you, James. James writes in, as much as I love the action sequences, what I love more is the character dynamics with Bucky. Watching him change over the course of several films and now in this show, watching Bucky and Sam deal with normal everyday situations. I completely agree. That, like, it's going to be great. The whole aerial fight sequence was fantastic. The fighting on top of the trucks, fantastic. You know, and getting to see Zemo at the end of the episode, great. All that kind of stuff. But this show is going to live and die by how strong do you make the characters? How invested do you get us as audience members into the characters? Because the characters are the doorways for us as the audience into the story itself. And if they don't work, nothing else will work. And I think the reason why a lot of us are liking this show so much right now is because they're doing great character work. And they've done really good character work. They truly are building off of everything they've had Bucky go through up until this point, and now they're doing the logical continuation of that progression. And it's working really well. It's working really well, James, and I think you're bang on the money with that. All right, next up. Fangblaze71 writes, I think when Bucky tells the old man he killed his son, okay. I think when Bucky tells the old man he killed his son, he will say, I already know that was the Winter Soldier, not Bucky Barnes. Oh, but I guess there would be ways for him to know that. Oh, wouldn't that be powerful? Wouldn't that be powerful? If like Bucky is like on his knees in front of Yori and I think his name was Yori, and crying and tells him, I am the one who killed your son. And he puts his hand on his shoulder and he says, I've known all along and I forgive, or I don't know. That would be a powerful moment right there, my friends. That would be a powerful, powerful moment if they decide to try to pull that off. All right, next up. Jason Lockman writes, again, sends in like $20 super chat, writes, like trying to get a loan to both of them getting stopped by police and Bucky getting arrested. It sucks that we only have a few more episodes. I agree. And you're right. The theme, if you will, of this show with the 2 episodes we've had already have been superheroes in real life. That's kind of been the theme, right? You see the shit that they've been through. You need therapy. You need help. You can barely function. You need to pay the bills. You're going to lose your house. You're going to get racially profiled and pulled over by the police. You didn't make a court-appointed, a court-mandated appointment. You're getting arrested. I mean, it really does feel like a theme of this show is superheroes in real life. But it's working. It doesn't feel like a gimmick. It feels like it's actually working and helping them to tell the story. So for me, I'm loving it. I'm loving it. All right. Fanblaze writes, hey, John, love the show. Thank you so much. Spoiler for the Avengers video game, but I thought it was funny because in the game, they faked Cap's death and he was in a base in the moon. I didn't know that. He was on a base on the moon the whole time. I did not know that. And since Kevin Feige has completely rejected the existence of the Inhuman show, no, there's not some secret Inhuman city up there on the moon waiting for Cap to hide out in. That is gone. That is not part of the real thing. Do you guys remember how bad that Inhuman show was? Let me remind you, it was real bad. But I had no idea in the video game that he was actually hiding out on the moon the whole time. We're going to find out that was it all along. I'm telling you, 5% chance old man Steve is up there on the moon somewhere. Fanblaze. I totally believe it, Fanblaze. Totally do. All right, Matt1306, right? If he was wrong about you, then he was wrong about me. Again, best line of the episode so far, Matt1306. Best line of not just the episode, I think the series so far. Best line of the series. Bukati writes, John, can we just take a moment and appreciate the director for giving us such an awesome series? It's not very common for female directors to get gigs with 2 male superheroes and actually deliver. Oh, no, it's true. It is rare. It is rare. Let's see. I remember the first time it really stood out to me, a female director taking over like a male lead superhero movie, was Lexi Alexander doing Punisher Warzone. Now, I know a lot of people didn't like Punisher Warzone. The one that had Dominic West was the bad guy. Ray Stevens was Punisher. Was Punisher. I loved Punisher Warzone. I know a lot of people didn't like Punisher Warzone. I don't care. I really like Punisher Warzone. And what Lexi Alexander did directing that is great. It's not often you see that. It's not often you see that, but this show has been very, very good so far. Like really good so far. All right, next up. Phil Kelly just sends in a super chat just to be supportive. Thank you, Phil. Appreciate that, man. Then he writes in again. He writes, Walker and the psychiatrist clearly know each other. Yeah, they mentioned that they had worked together in the military. And the psychiatrists clearly know each other, and she is ex-military. Has she previously treated Walker, and could he have mental health issues? Well, remember, she was in the military, right? Remember she said in episode 1 that she's seen a lot of dead bodies. I never got the impression at all that he was her patient. I think they worked together. At least that seems to me, Phil, to be the implied message, was that they were colleagues. And I never once got the feeling that they were saying that he was her patient or anything like that. I never got that sense at all. So, but who knows? As this progresses, maybe we find out. You know what I think will probably happen? Here's a guess. That she never worked with him as a psychologist, but at some point she might make some observations about him. Like, he was never my patient, but I can tell you he has this, and this type of personality stuff. So I don't know, that might come into play later, but I never got the impression that he was her patient. Maybe they'll say in the show later on that he was, but for now, I never personally got that impression. Next up, Chaz McGill writes, another great episode. Again, Kevin Feige doesn't miss. Big question I have is, what is the status of the Avengers? I mean, that's huge, right? Yeah, I don't know. Like, when you say right now, the Avengers, what are the Avengers at the moment? Is Captain Marvel part of the Avengers right now? Is Bruce with his twiggy, burnt up, useless arm now? Is he part of the Avengers? Is Doctor Strange a part of the Avengers? Was he ever, like, officially a part of the Avengers? Is Rhodey still an Avenger? I mean, these are all big questions, and we just don't know. We just don't know. What is, right now, at this point in the MCU, what are the Avengers? What are they? Now, basically, Jakov says, and thing, Bruce can heal his arm. Can he? Because remember, Thanos had massive healing abilities too, but the damage he took from the gauntlet was still unhealed. I don't know, maybe it'll eventually heal. Maybe they say it won't. But it is a very good question. Right now, as of this moment, and Lyda is saying, the therapist is Mephisto. They're all Mephisto. What is the status of the Avengers? I don't know. That is a great question, because you would think that the Avengers would have a say if they're not disbanded. You would have a feeling that the Avengers would have a say in who's the new Captain America. So, I mean, I don't know. It's a good question, Chaz. It's an excellent, excellent question. All right, next up. A-Rod 2006 writes, you think Eli Bradley will become Patriot in the MCU? I don't, but they very well could. I have a feeling that was just there as a great Easter egg. I don't think they're going to pursue it, but we will find out more as we move forward. I don't think we're going to see Isaiah again either. I think that was just there to make this big dramatic point and to make an impression on Sam that's going to have influence later on. So I don't think we're going to see Isaiah or Eli again, but who knows? They could be right back in the thick of it by episode 4. I mean, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Good question though, A-Rod. All right, Ben Jesusa writes, I'm digging this show a whole lot too. Where can I find that hoodie, John? Oh, this hoodie? This was a gift. So I don't actually know where it came from. The I Can Do This All Day. I do love this hoodie, man. I love this hoodie. But it was a gift. So I'll tell you what, I will ask my friend where they got it from. And next time I wear it on the show, I will try to remember to mention where they got it from. So I will check with my friend where it got, but I didn't actually ask where it came from. But I do love this hoodie as well. Boosters the Name writes, calling it now, everyone is Mephisto. The whole show is an illusion. All there to trick every other character other than Sam and Bucky or Mephisto. All there to trick them. It's all there to trick them. All right, next up, Karoom Potts writes, hello from Michigan. I love Michigan. I used to go driving through there. I used to go into Grand Rapids. There's this big antique bookstore. Don't laugh. I used to be into antique books. When I was actually like 18, 19, 20, I don't know why, but I had this real passion for like antique theology books. Like antique books about theology and stuff like that. I used to love them. And there's this great old bookstore in Grand Rapids. And we used to make the drive into Grand Rapids and just to spend a day going book shopping for them. I kid you not. We really used to do that. Anyway, there's a little bit of a walk down memory lane. Okay. Hello from Michigan. I really love this episode, specifically how they don't exclude how the real world actually is, aka the Black Super Soldier. Also, thanks for doing things like this, John. I got to tell you, for me, it's just doing things like the WandaVision after show, this show, and don't forget, next Thursday, we will have the pregame. I said, starting episode 3, we're going to do the pregame for Falcon and Winter Soldier. We're going to start doing the pregame this week too, or next week, I should say. It just makes watching the show more fun. For me, it makes watching the show more fun because I know that the next day I get to get on here for a couple hours and we just go crazy talking about the show. I think it's awesome. But yes, I thought it was really important that, and so the question becomes, why did Bucky take Sam there? I think Bucky was maybe thinking, you're over romanticizing what this is. You think you're not worthy of it. You're over romanticizing it. Look what they did to him. This is what America thinks of its heroes sometimes. So you should not feel bad at all by taking up that shield. You are worthy of it. It's not above you. That's kind of the impression I got for that, but I don't know. We'll see. All right, next up, James Lockman writes, when Captain Walmart, yeah, I keep calling him the Walmart Captain America. Let's call him Captain Walmart. When Captain Walmart was getting hit, I was expecting to hear him say, I can't do this all day. LOL. That would have been funny. Somebody help me out here. I can't do this all day. Bum, right? But hey, he handled himself really well, right? Like in that fight, he handled himself real well. And the way he handled the shield, the way he was able to throw the shield and all that kind of stuff, he acquitted himself quite well. All right, next up, Antoine Fair writes, Isaiah's going to lead the Young Avengers. His grandson is in the comics, inherited the super soldier powers. He became part of that team, mind blown. Yes, again, but as we often say, and 90% of the time it turns out to be this way, just because they did something in the comics does not mean they're going to do it here. Oh, look, that's not to say that it can't happen. Of course it can. But I keep seeing people get really attached to a theory because, that's what was in the comics, so that's what they're going to do. And they get totally attached to that. Just remember that 90% of the time, they don't exactly follow what happened in the comics. They can. They totally could. But more times than not, they don't. So all I'm saying is just because they do something in the comics, doesn't necessarily mean that is what's going to happen in the show. Just something to keep in mind. All right. Rosie Twins 2x2 writes, so where are the superheroes shouldn't kill Man of Steel / Batman versus Superman people with Sam's body count of about 10 plus in only the first few minutes of the episodes? Well, I mean, to be fair, it's not that the people who have a problem with Superman or Batman killing, and you shouldn't have a problem with them killing in the movies, but the people who have a problem with them killing in the movies is because those characters specifically, in certain iterations, because there are iterations in the comics where both of them have killed, but in other iterations of the comic where that becomes a very hard and fast, cannot go back on this rule, right? Bucky Barnes ain't never had such a rule that I can recall. Sam Wilson, Falcon, does not have such a rule. So that's why nobody gives, Tony Stark a hard time when he starts murdering a lot of enemy soldiers or anything like that. Nobody gives or Cap a hard time when he kills an enemy soldier because they never said they never killed. So in the people's defense, even though I don't think there is a real argument to be made that Superman and Batman shouldn't kill in the movies, I think it's totally fine that they do. But they at least have a basis for that argument because there are iterations in the comic book where that's a very important rule. And that's not the case with these characters. So there's that. Okay, next up. Antoine also writes, I think the mask gives them power. I didn't think they are super soldiers in the Cap sense. Oh no, the mask didn't give them power. And here's how you know it's not the masks that give them power. When Bucky, who is a super soldier with a vibranium arm, goes up to the girl in the truck, she did not have the mask on. When he thought that she was a hostage, he goes, are you okay? And then she just smiles at him and kicks him all the way out of the truck, across the road into the other truck. And then she stepped up, grabbed the mask, and put the mask on, right? So no, it's not the mask that gives them power. Also, when they were still in the warehouse and they were just picking up these giant pallets that normally you'd have to use a forklift to lift, they were not wearing masks. So it's pretty clear that they do not need masks to have their power. They don't need masks to have their power. They have super soldier serum. All right, Gabe Campbell writes, the action in this show has been top notch. It absolutely has. Kevin Feige wasn't lying. These shows are basically movies. No, he's right. They really are. They have approached these shows. Kevin Feige said about these Disney Plus shows, we are totally approaching them with the same mentality as if we're making a movie. We're not thinking differently. We're not thinking, oh, let's cut back a little bit because this is a show, not a movie. He said we're approaching these as if we are making movies. And so far, he's stuck to that. These things are cinematic in every single sense of the word. They've done a really, really good job with that. So you're right about that, Gabe. Next up, MJ Coop 10 writes, the episode is awesome. Do you feel like Hulk may show up since they are talking about all the old super soldiers, maybe Wolverine? No. Just stop with anything X-Men related. There are no X-Men coming into this. Okay. Can we put that one to bed? There are no X-Men coming into this. Now, if anything, the one thing that you could look at is Blonsky, Abomination, because he was given a version of the super soldier serum, right? Before becoming the Abomination. So that could open, and weren't they just saying that they're going to bring Abomination into the She-Hulk show or one of the shows? I thought they said they were. I could be wrong about that, but I thought they said they were. So, yeah. So if you're talking about like super soldier serum, blah, blah, that could tie into Abomination. So maybe yes, maybe no. We'll see what happens. Anyway, thanks for sending that in, MJ. Next up, Timothy Platt writes, considering how I've had issues with how the recent MCU shows felt in terms of length, I have to say this episode was perfect for me. Didn't feel rushed, while kept me interested in what's next. Yeah, I mean, the nice thing, even though we're only getting 6 episodes, pardon me, even though we're only getting 6 episodes instead of like 9, the nice thing is the episodes aren't ending after 32 minutes. Like they're like 45 minutes. Although I got excited when I saw like 47 minutes for it, but then realized it was like a full 5 minutes of credits. Yeah, but still, the episodes themselves are all over 40 minutes, which is really, really good. So they feel like they have more length to them. I don't feel with Falcon and Winter Soldier like I did with WandaVision. And I loved WandaVision, but it felt like the show just started when the end credits started to roll. I don't feel that way. Even if it's only an extra 10, 11, 12 minutes, it still feels like it's a better length. You know what I mean? It still feels like it's a better length. I lost my stream, at least my live stream activity. Anyway, I got it back. Don't worry, guys. I got it back. I just got to get back and find my place again. Let's see. Everyone is Mephisto, Rose Twins. Yeah, there we go. Now we're back. But yes, Timothy, I totally agree. It feels weightier. It feels weightier with the length that they're going. So I hope they maintain it at this and don't suddenly, I hope next episode isn't suddenly like 31 minutes or something like that. But so far, I'm much happier with the length of the show. So I agree with you on that, Timothy. All right, James Holiday writes, don't forget this show was supposed to be tied to Black Widow. So when will we see Omega Red? But here's the thing. Who said? Whoever said this show was tied into Black Widow? Who said that? There's a lot of us, including this guy, that made presumptions that presumed they would kind of be tied in. But I don't remember anybody ever saying, like anybody from Marvel ever saying, oh, by the way, the events of Black Widow tie in directly into the events of of Falcon and Winter Soldier. I don't remember that ever coming out. I think a lot of us thought they might, and that's why Black Widow was supposed to come out before Falcon and Winter Soldier came out. But if, to the best of my recollection, and I could be wrong, I'm just saying to the best of my recollection, I don't remember anybody officially saying that this, like somebody from Marvel saying this directly connects into that. So just keep that in mind. All right, next up, Liquid Metal Rob writes, Sam and Bucky will become Cap, and the show will be renamed Captain Falcon and Captain Bucky O'Hare, making it a Marvel / Nintendo / 90s cartoon crossover, the ultimate multiverse crossover, and then that will lead directly into Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness. Everything's going to go crazy, get all that. Okay, that's pretty funny, Liquid Metal Rob. Well said. I raise a glass to you, sir. Well said. That was a good one. All right, next up, L Cartoon writes, 1. I think faux Captain America got Bucky arrested. Actually, no, the only one who can get him arrested is his therapist. His therapist is the only one who can put out the arrest warrant for him. I don't think he could have, but maybe. 2. If Steve was wrong about you, then he was wrong about me. Gave me the feels. Absolutely is my favorite line in the show so far. 3. Today's my 40th birthday. 3 years in a row. I watch your show on my birthday. Thanks, John. Happy birthday, L Cartoon. And thank you for letting me be a part of your birthday for 3 years in a row, sir. Appreciate that, man. May you have a glorious day and a fabulous year ahead of you, my friend. And yeah, thanks for being here for part of your birthday, man. I feel very honored. Thanks for that, dude. All right. Next up, Gabe Campbell writes, I'm so happy they didn't wait long to put Sam and Bucky together. Chemistry is off the charts with those two. Yeah, I mean, I was a little bit surprised that they didn't have them together in episode 1. But when you watched episode 1, you realized, oh, dude, this character work they had to do, totally worth having them separate for the entire of episode 1. But I think we all knew we were going to get them together in episode 2. I just wasn't... I wasn't predicting they would bring them together so fast. Like episode 2 is like, bang, the two of them are together. I thought it was great. And you're right, man. Their chemistry together is one of the big strengths of the show. Absolutely one of the big strengths of the show. All right, next up, Ben Rayner writes, the scene with the cops with Bucky and Sam felt real. It really did. Like only treated Sam better once they knew he was Falcon. Yep. Yeah, listen, I get it. They weren't just guys walking down the street. These are two grown-ass men clearly having an altercation of, like, maybe not a physical altercation, but having an altercation in the street. So the cops pull up, but they turn all of their aggro on Sam and not Bucky. I mean, that was, see, I didn't feel weird that the cops rolled up on them. You're in a residential neighborhood, two grown-ass men, blah, 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 so cops pull up. Okay. But then they turn all their aggressiveness simply on Sam. And again, then that kind of leads into the joke of, the irony of that is, of course, Bucky is the one that ends up getting taken away in handcuffs, which I thought was kind of appropriate. Anyway, Sam Fisher writes, I have a feeling Walker is lying about not being enhanced. That was a live interview, and you really think U.S. government wants the people to know he's enhanced? I think, yes, they would want them to know he's enhanced. I think if they're trying to give America a symbol, they want them to see somebody who is as much like the original Captain America as possible. To see, show him lifting up a car saying, I am as strong as Captain America. Yeah, I think if he was enhanced, and I don't think he is, I mean, you may be right, Sam, you might be right. But my thinking, at least for now, is if he was enhanced, I would feel like the government would be showing that off. And like, behold your Captain America. Just like the other Captain America, only better. That's what they would be saying, I think. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we'll find that out. We'll find out soon enough, Sam. Good thought. All right, Sam also writes, or if he's not enhanced now, he will be later on because he gets his powers from the power broker. Again, there's a lot of how that's all going to set up and play into this. We'll have to find out. Was he the one sending the text messages to the girl? Maybe yes, maybe no. Is he already enhanced? Maybe yes, maybe no. Is he truly a good guy just trying to do the right thing? Maybe yes, maybe no. There's a lot of these questions to come. And I don't even think we're going to get the answers in episode 3. Maybe like in episode 4 we'll start to get some of those answers and get a better picture of that. All right. Next up, Gabe Campbell writes, depending on how next week goes, it seems all the trailers seem to be the first 3 episodes. That gets me very excited for those last 3 episodes. Yeah, I mean, that reminded me a lot of WandaVision, right? Turns out like 95% of the stuff that we saw in trailers was stuff that was in the first half of the episodes. You know, the first 4 episodes, maybe the first 5. Like that was where 95% of the stuff comes from. And you're right. It feels like we've seen almost all of the stuff that we see in the trailers. Obviously, we haven't seen Sharon Carter yet, and she was in some of the promos. So there's still more stuff to come, but maybe that all gets cut off after episode 3, which leaves the rest of it a blank slate, which would be pretty exciting. All right, next up. Adria Laura Sia writes, do you think by the end of the show, Bucky will officially become the White Wolf? The Falcon and the Wolf has a nice ring to it. Appreciate you. I don't think so. I mean, look, they've done such a job marketing him as Winter Soldier, even though part of his healing thing is, I am no longer the Winter Soldier. I think part of his healing is going to be embracing being the Winter Soldier. But that being the Winter Soldier does not define who he is. He defines what the Winter Soldier is. So I don't think they'll ever actually give him the moniker White Wolf, but they have already alluded to it in this season. Last episode here, they already brought it up. You may not be far off there. You may not be far off. All right. J Meister 25 writes, the show is good, but I think being a weekly release show is as a detriment to the overall experience. I disagree because damn it, I want more. Still, I like it. Well, the very fact that you are drooling wanting more is proof that the week-to-week releases works and work really well. And I guarantee you, the numbers haven't come out yet, but I guarantee you the viewership numbers on this week's episode are bigger than last week's episode. And I guarantee that next week's episode will even be higher ratings than this week's episode. Because damn it, we got to see it again. But now we're also telling everybody how great it was. And now they're getting caught up easy enough before the next episode. And this was exactly what happened with WandaVision. WandaVision debuted at number 37 in the world. By week 4, it was the number 1 show in the world. 4 or 5, can't remember. By week 4 or 5, it was the number 1 show in the world. Because its viewership ratings went like this. And that's what week to week does. And that is why they're doing it this way, because it builds that popularity. All right, next up. We got the movie Buffness writes, first time writing a super chat. Thank you, movie Buffness, for first of all being here and for sending that in to support the channel. Appreciate that, man. Love the show, John. Thank you so much. Bucky should have whooped him and taken the shield back because that's what I would have done. Haha. Well, no, Bucky wouldn't have done that though. You know, remember Bucky, he's struggling to find any value in himself at all. He's struggling to see himself as even being worthy of basic human respect. He certainly does not see himself being worthy of having that shield. He doesn't see that at all. Like, again, that whole line when he says, if he was wrong about you, then he was wrong about me. And that means so much to Bucky because Cap's belief in him is all that keeps him holding on. That's the only thing that makes him believe that he's worth anything because Steve believed in me. And if he doesn't have that, he's on shaky ground. So, yeah, a part of me in Endgame, when Steve gave the shield to Sam, part of me thought, wouldn't Bucky feel a little irked by that? It's like, dude, I've been your friend. Like, you've been this guy's buddy for a couple of years. That's great. You and I have been best friends for 100 years. We have been best friends. And you don't, but the more I thought about it is, of course, he understood. He doesn't see himself at all worthy of holding that shield at all. He doesn't have any self-worth to begin with. So it actually made a lot of sense to me. It's grown to make sense to me at any rate. It's grown to make sense to me. Anyway, excellent. Thanks for putting that in, Movie Buffness, and thanks for being part of our community, man. All right, Adam Bodsworth writes, here's hoping for an Isaiah Korean War flashback with Winter Soldier. Oh, I would like to see that scene. I remember kicking your ass. I would like to see that scene. Now, obviously, Isaiah America didn't really kick his ass too terribly much because clearly Winter Soldier got away. So clearly he didn't win the fight outright, but I would love to see that flashback scene. Oh, I would love to see that. I don't know that they will, but it would be really fun if they did. All right, Javier Rios 405 writes, U.S. agent will more shades of gray, break the rules to get his mission, but be good too. But eventually turn against Sam and Bucky to get the serum. Could be. I mean, he might already be after the serum. He might be already willing to break too many of the rules to get the job done. That might be it. That might be there already. It might be something he becomes. Or he could die the hero. That'll inspire Sam and Bucky. I mean, I don't know. I'm so on the fence right now because of the way they introduced him, Javier. I am so on the fence right now about how they're going to proceed with him. It's got me fascinated. It's totally got me fascinated and hooked into what they're doing with their story. All right, next up. Frederick Nicholas Jr. writes, my favorite part was when Bucky told Sam, if Steve was wrong about you, then maybe he was wrong about me. You could feel Bucky's pain. And that's exactly what it is. See, it's these lines. It's not the 80s style Arnold Schwarzenegger lines, I'll be back. It's the lines that give us a window into the characters' souls. Like when Vision says, what is grief if not love persevering? Oh, that's so good. Or Bucky saying, and if he was wrong about you, then he was wrong about me. And Bucky cannot handle that possibility. It's a beautiful thing about it, and you're totally right, Frederick. You could totally feel his pain in that. Unintended Studios writes, in the end, it'll be it'll be Agatha all along. Agatha comes in doing something. That would be funny. Big crossover already. Matthew Carter writes, do you think we'll see Isaiah Bradley again? I don't think so. I would love to see him take down Bucky in 51, but I'd love to see him again in this show. I am with you. I would like to see him pop up again. I would really like to see him pop up again. If I had to bet $1, I would bet that we're not going to see him again. But I would not bet $2 because I just don't feel that strongly about it. I don't. So I am with you. I hope we do, but I'm guessing that we won't, but we'll see. We'll see soon enough. Javier Rios writes, only 4 episodes left. I'm confident they can end right, but sometimes I do wish there was more episodes, maybe 9, 10, also longer runtime. I get it. They are sparing no expense in these shows. They are putting movie-like budgets into them. I get it. I like my TV shows to be 20 episodes. I like my shows to have like 18 to 22 episodes a season, the way they've always done them. I'm not a big fan of 8-episode seasons, 10-episode seasons. Not a big fan of that. But they can work and they can be great. So yeah, I'm totally with you. I really would rather have 12 episodes of Falcon and Winter Soldier as instead of 6. But the bottom line is, are they giving us something that we really enjoy? And as long as they're giving us something we really enjoy, it's all good with me. It doesn't matter if it's 20 episodes, doesn't matter if it's 3. If they're giving us something that we have a great experience with, at the end of the day, that's all that matters. So I'll take whatever we can get, man. I'll take whatever we can get. All right, Max Cohen writes, John, I know they were saying super soldier serum, but don't forget the power broker is coming. Might not be serum, but might still, but we'll see. The one reason why I kind of lean a little bit towards, hold on a second. The reason I lean towards serum, number one, is just because they said, they're super soldiers. They're super soldiers. So there's that, right? But also because remember when Bucky went into the, when Bucky goes into the truck, he says they got all these medical supplies, right? They got all these medical supplies. That to me makes me think that what was actually in that truck were the ingredients to make a super soldier serum. That's what I kind of think is part of that there. Now, maybe yes, maybe no. It could have been totally something different. It could be absolutely totally something different. I think, Max, the one thing that we have to at least acknowledge is that we don't know what it's going to be. Whether it's power broker, whether it's they're amassing a new super soldier serum, whatever it is, we don't quite know yet. But again, I'm going to lean for now, without being willing to put any money on it, that all the medical supplies lean towards super soldier serum, but I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. All right. But let's see if you're right about them. Actually, very well could be. Javier Riaz writes, do you think we'll get Sharon Carter next episode? I sure hope so. Yes. I believe we're going to get Sharon Carter next episode. I think she's going to track them down saying, what the hell are you talking to him for? Because remember, they're going there to see Zemo. I think it'll be number 3. Like, they're showing her in the post credits, right? They're showing her, not the post credits. They're showing her in the credits. So you got to imagine they at least have to get her in there by the midpoint of the show, right? So I don't know that she's going to show up in this episode, but my guess is she will. My guess is she will. All right, next up. Suthius writes, sorry, drop went down the wrong pipe. Hey, Mr. C, they make it seem like Walker has been training with the Shield for weeks or months and is as even good with it. But didn't Sam just give it up? I mean, yeah, that is something that went through my mind. Now, he might have been training with something else like it, like something that was the same shape and weight. Maybe. But you're right. In the story, he had just literally given up the shield. So how long could he have been training with that damn thing? So the only thing to guess is that maybe he was, training with a reasonable facsimile. Maybe a reasonable facsimile. That's my only guess there, Suthius. All right. Next up. Ishmael Montoya writes, John, do you see Bucky / Sam willing Walmart cap? Do you see Bucky or Sam willing Walmart cap? Willing. I don't know what that means. Do you guys in the live chat have a guess as to what Ishmael means? Like when he says, I'm guessing willing isn't what he meant to write. Oh, killing. Sam Wright is saying maybe he meant killing. Okay. Killing Walmart cap. Okay. That makes sense. Maybe. But again, I think it's equally as possible that he may die doing something heroic and inspiring Sam and Bucky. So I don't what's not going to happen is Sam or Bucky aren't going to go, I hate you because you're carrying Steve Shields. I'm going to kill you. I don't think that's going to happen. But does he maybe reveal that he's truly a big heel and that in the end they have to kill him? Maybe. But I think it's equally possible he dies saving their lives. I mean, I don't know. Right now, I'm so on the fence about that Ismail. We'll have to see which way they're going to go with that. All right, next up. James Germain writes, I bet John Walker is secretly a super soldier, but being manipulated by the government, like inverse of Jeffrey Mason, agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Again, I don't buy it. I mean, it is possible. I'm not going to sit here and say that that's not possible. It is possible. But the reason I don't personally buy it is because, again, they're trying to pawn off and show off to America your new Captain America. If they had somebody with the superpowers as well, I just feel like with all this PR marketing, they'd be showing that off. They'd be saying, see America, feel safe. Feel safe, everybody. You can go to bed feeling secure tonight because just like Steve Rogers was, we've got our super powered. Somebody said grilling. Maybe instead of willing, he said grilling. That was Batman. Anyway, we have, just like Steve Rogers was, we've got our super powered Captain America watching over America tonight. I just feel like they would be doing that, but I don't know. You guys could be right. Maybe it will end up being that he's already superpowered. We'll find out. Lady MO5 writes, not only do I not trust John Walker, I don't trust the therapist. Her and John Walker know each other. And how did John Walker know Sam and Bucky's location? Well, they already revealed in the show how he knew their location, right? They're able to track the government. Gear that Sam carries around with him. So that he already said that. That's how he was able to track where they were and what they were doing. I do trust the therapist. I personally trust the therapist. I think she's ultimately going to be a good guy. Although I've had a number of you guys writing in that maybe the therapist is indeed Mephisto, or that the therapist is actually Evan Peters. We'll figure that out as we go along. All right, next up, K. Munoz writes, theory, Carly stole the super soldier serum from the power broker, and he is threatening to kill her in that text. That's very possible. Walker will become a villain drunk on power. Maybe, but that's an awful fast heel turn. There's only 4 episodes left. Like him going from idealistic soldier who just wants to serve his country to being drunk on power dude in just a couple of episodes, that would be a sharp turn. Unless he's already a bad guy and we just don't know yet. And they're keeping that hidden from us. So, but yeah, the whole power, maybe that was Power Broker sending her the text message. Or maybe it was Walker sending her the text messages. Or maybe it was Thanos. Thanos was sending her a text message. Or maybe it was Magneto. There you go. For all you X-Menites. It was Magneto sending her that text message. I want the super soldier serum. It'll enhance my magnetism. I don't know. Well, there you go. But it could be any of them. Could be any of them right now, K Munoz. All right. James Germain writes, part 2. And what if it's even worse? He doesn't even know he's a super soldier. Oh, you're saying like, what if like John Walker is a super soldier and he doesn't even know he's a super soldier? Ooh. Well, here's the thing. If you're a super soldier and you get on the bench, you know, how much you bench, you know, you lift, bro, and he's down there. It's like, wow, I don't know many guys that can bench press 1,200 pounds. I just must be doing really good. Now, I think he would figure out he's a super soldier. I think the first time he goes to open a door and he rips it off of a car and he rips the door right off, I think he'd figure out he's a super soldier. So I think, yes, he would figure out he's a super soldier. I don't think there's any way he could not know. Unless, like, it needs to be triggered and turned on or something like that. I don't know. It's a possibility, but I don't see it as a very big possibility right now. All right, Benjamin G.L. writes, Sharon Carter is the bad guy. I don't believe this, but it's such a meme. I kind of think she might be a Skrull. Let me tell you what, and this might surprise you hearing this coming from me. I don't think that's a crazy idea. I don't think that's a crazy idea. Now, do I think Sharon Carter is going to end up being a villain? No, but it's not a crazy idea. Like, because how much have we actually seen of her? Not a lot. When you add up everything from Winter Soldier to Civil War to this now, how much of her have we actually seen? Not a lot. Not a lot. Maybe she's a Skrull. Who knows? But how they would do it, I don't know. And again, I don't believe that Sharon Carter is a villain, but it is not the craziest theory we've heard so far. That would be a really good catching us out of nowhere sort of thing if they did that. All right, next up, we got Victor Watson who writes, sends in like a $20 super chat. Thank you, Victor, for supporting our channel on that level, man. The show is a pleasant surprise. I love it so far, but I would have a slight attitude towards the new Captain America and his sidekick myself. But 6 episodes is fine with me. Always another season, hopefully. Yeah, I hope this is one that I think there is a chance for another season. Like WandaVision, there's just nowhere to go with another. There's nothing you can do with another season. So I really believe them when they say that's a limited series. As long as Bucky and Winter Soldier both survive, or Falcon and Winter Soldier both survive, you could easily do a season 2. So again, let's not get ahead of ourselves, Victor, because I can already feel myself getting ahead of myself. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. We're only 2 episodes into the show. For all we know, maybe the last 4 episodes will be crap. I doubt it, but I'm just saying. So let's start talking about more seasons, at least after episode 5. For now, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves, but it would be something. And to me, it seems like one of those shows that you very easily could do a season 2 for. So let's see where they go with that. And let's keep our fingers crossed, Victor. And again, thanks for sending that in, man. I appreciate that. All right, next up, Ricardo Benedictus writes, I have been touched with the scene. Let me try it again. I have been touched with the scene when Buck says, if Steve Rogers was wrong about you, then he could be wrong about me. What do you think he was trying to say? I know I've already been over that. I think that's him saying that, I only have any belief in myself because Steve had belief in me. And if he was wrong about me, then what do I have left? I think that's what he was talking about, Ricardo. All right. Icy Bubba writes, now that we have Patriot in the MCU, I'm placing over under at 45%. Young Avengers happens. What do you take now? Under. I still take the under. I'm not saying 0. I'm not even saying 2% or anything like that, but 45 still seems kind of high. Just because certain characters are there doesn't mean they're going to do something like that with them. But it's about, Kevin Feige was just talking about that. He never said they were doing Young Avengers. But he said, hey, we bring these new characters in and we see if people attach to them, and then we see if there's possibilities there. But it sounds like right now he's very non-committal on that. I'm going to still take the under 45%. Again, definitely possible. And not even like the slightest tiny possibility. Solid possibility. But I will still take under 45%. I would set it at around maybe 15 or 20 right now. And I'm not even sure we're going to see Eli again. So again, I just don't know. We'll find out though, Icy. We'll find out. All right. Han Sol O writes, I like that. I guess we know where the super soldier serum used on Emil Blonsky in The Incredible Hulk came from. The experimentation on Isaiah Bradley. Oh, yes. There's your connection. Absolutely. But was it like the true serum like Cap got, or it was still experimental? I got to go back and trying to remember what Thunderbolt Ross said to Emil before he took that. But again, that goes right to what we were saying, right? I think there could be a connection with Abomination in this show. You could get that, but yes, Han, good on you. That's perfect connecting the dots. Perfect connecting the dots. Well done. Well done. All right, next up, Santez Henderson writes, I know you don't like someone else taking on the mantle, but isn't it more important to have that symbol live on rather than disappearing? JW is Cap now. No, I don't think so. I think the shield as a symbol can be carried on by somebody else. I don't think identity theft is the right approach. Because look, you can call John Walker Captain America all you want. He's not Captain America. The government may bestow that title on him, but he's not Steve Rogers. Steve Rogers is Captain America. Captain America is Steve Rogers, is Captain America, is Steve Rogers, is Captain America. You can call him that if you want, I mean, I can go out into my living room and start calling my dog Falcor. I can call my dog Falcor all I want. It's not going to turn him into a magical wish dragon that's going to fly me over the thing as the song Neverending Story. Yeah, but I call my dog Falcor. That makes him Falcor, right? No, you can call your dog Falcor all you want. He ain't actually Falcor. My dog is still Shadow. You can call him Captain America if you want. Never-ending story. Anyway, so, I'm going to do that at least 20 more times during the show. So if you're sick of it already, too bad. I'm going to do it like 20 more times during the show. It's Steve Trevor, John. So Steve Rogers, is Captain America. You can call him that all you want. But as far as symbols go, the shield itself, the shield can become that symbol, and other heroes can take up that symbol. That the shield itself becomes a symbol for all the things that Captain America stood for and values and what heroes stand for and all that kind of stuff. That can be it. You can do that without calling somebody else Captain America. Now, again, I can cry about that all I want. I can cry and bitch and moan about that all I want. The reality is they probably are going to make Sam Wilson the new Captain America, or maybe John Walker will still be the new Cap. They're going to do it. Doesn't matter if I cry about it. I'll sit here and cry and whine about it all I want, but they're still probably going to do that. I just don't think they need to. That's all, Santez. That's kind of my take on that. Never-ending story. All right, next up, Daniel Luna writes, over under 30%, Sharon Carter is the one who's texting. Ooh, see? Now we're getting into the Shannon Carter stuff. Maybe she not only turned bad, what if she's the one saying you took, listen, I really had it bad for Cap, and I want to be the one to carry on his legacy. America's ass was mine. I got to squeeze out America's ass when he kissed me on the road underneath that bridge. And so I want that super serum so I can, I was going to say something that I'm now thinking better of. I'm not going to say. I had a little voice in my head going, stop. Okay, I'm not going to say what I was going to say next, but I will say this. Yeah, maybe she wanted that super serum. And she wanted to have a little taste of that power. And maybe she's the one doing it. Maybe she's the one doing it. I don't know. We'll see. What if she is the power broker? What if Sharon is the power broker? Again, I don't really think that's the case, but wouldn't it be funny? Wouldn't it be funny? All right. Mike Hale writes, Ron Burgundy, the Falcon was The Falcon was denied a bank loan. What was it in the real line? Was it the Green Lantern? What was the real line, guys in the super chat? What was the real line from Ron Burgundy? Was it the Green Lantern was denied a bank loan? What I think it says the Green Lantern was denied a bank loan, or was it somebody else? Can you guys remember, or are you guys stuck as I am on that? The Human Torch. Thank you. Blake St. Clair and Mary. It was the Human Torch was denied a bank loan. That was the Falcon. But in this case, it's quite literal, Mike. The Falcon was denied a bank loan. All right, Mr. 47 writes, Hayward from WandaVision and John Walker will be BFFs if they ever meet. Neither of them are villains, but maybe they both end up being giant dicks. You might be right about that, Mr. 47. VRock408 writes, will we see Sharon Carter this episode? Again, this series. Well, yes, this series. They have her in the credits. You see that image of her in the credits. She's definitely in the series. The question is, where are we going to see her in this episode? And I think we will. All right, Conrad just sends in a super chat to be supportive. Thank you, Conrad. Christina B writes, how Walker was saying Bucky was very grating, like he was trying to be overly familiar with him. John Walker seems to try very hard, and that may be his downfall. You know, you might be right about this, Christina. That one element of him that I'm liking right now, that he's making an effort. I mean, like, look, even if he turns out to be a giant dick and maybe he's a villain, whatever, and he ends up being the bad guy, who knows? You got to acknowledge he's trying. He is trying. Maybe he's over trying. And maybe the fact that he just keeps calling him Bucky. Like, why not call him Mr. Barnes? Or just James? Like, you don't know me. You don't get to call me Bucky. Captain America called me Bucky, and you ain't Captain America, Junior. You know? That could be part of it, too. All right, guys, listen. We've hit the top of the hour, so we're going to take another break just as I ran out of my drink. I'm going to go get another drink, rest my voice for just a minute or two, so give me 3 to 4 minutes, everybody. Good chance now for you to grab a drink for yourselves as well. Run, use the bathroom, do whatever it is you got to do, and then we'll be back in just a couple minutes, and we're in the home stretch now, guys, to clear off the last bunch of questions that we're going to have. And by the way, when I come back from break, we're going to turn off the super chat feature. So if you want to get in another super chat before the end of the show, do it in the next couple of minutes, because once I come back, we're going to turn them off so we can get through all the remaining questions that we have. So hang tight, everybody, and we will be right back. All right, guys, and we are back. Thank you again for your patience and indulgence as we roll into hour 3 of our Falcon and Winter Soldier open spoiler discussion. We have now turned Super Chats off, so we're going to get through all the questions that you guys have sent in here today. So let's get into the final stretch here. Probably got another, I'm guessing it's probably going to take us another half hour or so to get through the rest. So let's keep right on going here. And we get picking up here with... where do we leave off with? Was it Christina? Yes. So we'll go to Mr. 47 who writes, it's refreshing to not have any clue where the overall narrative of the MCU is going or how all these shows and films will connect and what they're leading to besides Young Avengers, LOL. Okay, let's not even get on Young Avengers again. But listen, I love right now that we're just getting individual stories. Not everything has to be some big tied in multi-thread, blah, 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 one story narrative. I love that we are getting individual stories. It's like, why didn't Doctor Strange come and help in WandaVision? Because the show's called WandaVision. It's not called WandaVision and Doctor Strange. You know, that sort of thing. So I love that we're getting these individual stories. Don't worry. We will get a larger arching story at some point will come into play. Absolutely. But for now, let's just enjoy having some good individual stories. I'm really loving it, Mr. 47. It sounds like you are too. All right, next up. Christina B writes, over under on them addressing that Sharon made out with her granduncle. Oh, Zero. They should have addressed that before. Yeah. Yeah, see, when her and Peggy got together, and then Peggy's sister had a baby and they named it Sharon, Steve, I wonder if Steve had a conversation. You know what, honey? I played Hello, Come In Tokyo with her when she gets older. You know, smack. I mean, I don't know. It seems you'd think he should probably have that conversation with her at some point. You know what? A few years from now, I get a little squeeze out of her. Yeah, they should probably. It's a little creepy. It's a little creepy. Yeah, great uncle. They're just not normal. Yeah, great uncle. You're right. He goes even one step further. Great uncle. A little bit creepy. All right. Mr. 47 writes, Falcon and Winter Soldier is basically the live action version of a Buzz Lightyear and Woody show. It kind of is. That's a good comparison. One is old fashioned. One is more high tech, and they butt heads often. True. You're right. It is kind of like, I never thought of it in those terms, Mr. 47, but you're right. There is a little bit of a Woody and Buzz relationship there. Actually, this is a pretty apt comparison. All right. Suthius writes, wasn't there a Battlestar on America Gladiators? I don't recall there being a Battlestar on America Gladiators. Could be. I don't remember well enough, but it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't any of them. I mean, I don't recall it. None that I remember. All right, next up. Sloth Gaming writes, I think the new Cap will give up the shield and he will go to his other comic book name, Super Patriot, but I don't think he will be a full-on bad guy. That's totally a possibility. But, yeah, I mean, dude, does he get the serum? Does he get powers at some point? I don't know. But, yeah, he could end off still be, again, right now, Sloth, I think the possible pathways for John Walker are very wide open right now. Now, maybe we'll feel totally different after episode 3, but for now, I feel like it could go either way. So many possibilities with him, and that's kind of neat, not knowing which way they're going to go with him. Let's wait and find out. All right, Victor Watson writes, I was thinking it would be crazy having all those people come back after the snap, especially after 5 years passed. No, really, that is something we never really thought about. Like, Hulk snaps, brings everybody back, and all we think about is the big celebration. Yay, all of our loved ones are back. But think about it. The planet had just had 5 years to adjust to half the people being gone, and only half the population is left. And then all of a sudden, 3 billion people reappear. What kind of madness and chaos would that cause? And they're only now starting to really touch on that, about that it would cause a lot of problems. I mean, still very good news. Yay, people who had lost their lives are back, but that would cause a lot of problems. And the fact that they're kind of addressing them now, I think, is a really good thing. All right, next up. Anthony M.R. writes, in the past, we We're used to Fury, Cap, or Tony bringing the Avengers together, but that foundation is now gone. I think Sam will have a hand in bringing/leading a new team after he accepts the Cap mantle. I don't know. I don't know that. I don't think so. I don't think Sam becomes the leader of the Avengers. I mean, I suppose it's possible, but I don't know. It's a good, maybe. Again, somebody was just asking earlier, like, what is even the status of the Avengers right now? What's even their status at the moment? And we really don't know yet. So I guess we'll just have to see as we progress and move a little bit forward. All right, Casey McNatt writes, don't feel like the power broker is somebody big or just some guy in a suit. Yeah, how they're going to handle that character is really up in the air. I got a feeling it's going to be somebody in a suit, but I don't know. They could go a little bit more comic book way. They could do something like a new, fresh iteration of it. I don't know. It's a good question. That's one of the things we're going to have to wait and see. We may even find out in episode 3, because remember, you might think, but John, it's just episode 3. Don't forget, episode 3 marks the midpoint of the series. After this next episode, there's only going to be 3 episodes left. That's a horrible thought. So after the next episode, there's only 3 episodes left. So we may even get some answers to that in the next episode, Casey. All right, Wiz R74 writes, spend a little time in Wakanda and now you think you're the White Panther. That was a good line. Now you think you're the White Panther. That was White Wolf. That was a really, really good line. I like that one a lot. Kenna writes, with how the government treated Isaiah, I wonder if that legitimizes Sam's worries of being Captain America, especially a black Captain America. I think if anything, the purpose of Bucky bringing him there was the reverse of that, to show, listen, don't think that you have to live up. You have to be some big, massive thing to take on this responsibility that Steve gave you. It's not some high, super lofty thing, because look how they treated this guy, right? Don't worry about them, Sam, because this is how they treated him. So they're not worthy. They're not worth you worrying about how will it be perceived by them. You just worry about doing what Steve wanted you to do. You know, at least I think that's what Bucky's motivation was. I think that's what his motivation was, but we'll find out. All right, NYS Guy 2003 writes, there is no Zemo, only Mephisto. That's right. Now, so just to be clear, Sharon Carter is Mephisto. Don't forget that. John Walker is actually Mephisto. Battlestar is Mephisto. And Zemo, we're going to find out, is also Mephisto. Not a lot of people know that. We're going to find out that Zemo is Mephisto. And then he's going to shave his head, say he's a telepath, and start calling himself Professor X. It's all in there, man. You just got to look for it. All right, Suthius writes, call me crazy, but I like the whole one world, one people ideology that a lot of the left behinders are following. Wonder who'd villain really be. I mean, listen, no, but that's the thing. If you're going to have... What Marvel likes to do is give their villains a sense of justification. Like, we even talked a lot about that with Thanos. Thanos saw himself as the hero. And because he saw himself as the hero, anything he did in his mind was justified, because I have noble goals, he thought. Of course, it turns out we get into Endgame and realize he's just a rotten, evil being. But, you know, you have to convince us that these people have conviction. And conviction comes from believing you are doing what is right. And so I kind of like it when Marvel introduces that stuff. And I like that that's kind of part of the philosophy of these characters. So we'll see where that leads. Probably nowhere good, but we'll see where it leads. Michael Hamilton writes, who is the power broker and is he the one pulling the strings? I don't know. I mean, it could very well be that Power Broker is involved with the Flag Smashers, but that the person who texted the girl might be somebody totally different who is really the bigger threat in the show. So again, we're only 2 episodes in. I'm not sure, but I really do think that episode 3, Michael, will start to paint a little bit better of a picture for us. I think it'll paint a little bit more clear of a picture, and we'll start to get an idea. Because remember, again, after the next episode, only 3 episodes left. Ron Fraser writes, who do you think is the big bad? Again, right now, I have no idea. Flag Smasher, Zemo, Power Broker. I don't think it's any of them. I think there's another person. Mephisto. No, I think there's another player involved here that we don't know about yet. I really do. By the way, Elijah inherited power from Gramps. Mutants confirmed. Mutants confirmed. By the way, Tom Gillardson's in a super chat badge just to be supportive. Thank you, Tom. Appreciate that, man. Mutants confirmed. There you go. Whether they're going to say that's part of the MCU or not, we'll see. I don't even think we're going to see Elijah or Eli again, but we may, and they may actually become players moving forward. But for now, that's kind of where I see it. But we'll find out. All right. Icy Bubba writes, I would agree with you, Campea, about Elijah if every young Avenger except Iron Lad and Hulkling have been announced. Well, I mean, or haven't been announced, you mean? Yeah, but again, just because they're there doesn't mean they're going to do that. And again, I think Kevin Feige, we talked about this on the John Campea Show the other day. Kevin Feige kind of addressed when he was asked about the potential for Young Avengers. He'd say, look, anything's possible. What's important is what we introduce different characters. And then basically what Kevin Feige said is, let's see if the people who are writing these characters can get the audience really on board with the characters. And if the audience gets really on board with the characters, maybe we can do something more with them down the line. So it's possible. I just don't know that they have any plans. Just because the characters are there, that doesn't mean they're going to do a Young Avengers. They're always bringing in new characters. So maybe they do. I'm not saying they're not going to. Let's be very clear. I'm not saying they're not going to. But if you ask me, do I think it's probable right now? I still would lean towards no, but we'll see. Next up, Miguelito Riaz writes, didn't think we'd get Patriot, Isaiah Bradley, Battlestar, and gender-bent Flag Smasher from the comics all in one episode. Another member introduced. Can't be a coincidence at this point, Young Avengers. Again, it can absolutely be a coincidence. I mean, this whole can't be a coincidence thing, it reminds me of so many theories in WandaVision that ended up being wrong. Can't be a coincidence that this happened. Yep, turns out it was just a coincidence. Can't be a coincidence that happened. Turns out it was just a coincidence. Again, I'm not saying it cannot be. I'm just saying this idea that just because these characters are here, well, then that means they're going to do this. It's like saying in the DC universe, hey, there's Superman, there's Batman. Obviously, they're going to do a World's Finest movie. They're absolutely going to do a World's Finest movie. And guess what? They never did a World's Finest movie. But not they couldn't at some point in the future. Again, I'm just saying, I don't think it's as clear as, let's bring in these characters so we can make a Young Avengers movie. I just don't think that's the case. They very well could bring them together, though. They could. I'm just saying it's not as automatic, I think, as some people think it is. But don't misquote me. I'm not saying it won't happen. I'm just saying I don't think it's an automatic. All right, next up. Thanks for writing that in, Miguelito. All right. Easy writes, seeing the financial struggles of Sam really shows the huge loss of the genius billionaire playboy how the big loss of Tony was. The genius billionaire playboy philanthropist. Yes, but even if Tony was still there, I don't think Sam is going to him for help. Just like, listen, Sam and Pepper fought side by side in the Battle of Endgame to bring back humanity. They were both there. They both fought on that battlefield together. If Sam wanted to, he could probably give Happy Hogan, Pepper Potts a call and say, hey, I can't make my house payments. Can you help me out? But I don't think he wants to. And I think that would be the same thing even if Tony was still around. I think even if Tony was still there, he wouldn't go there. I think that's key. Anyway, David Atkins writes, freaking love this episode. Bucky and Sam being married couple bickering for 40 plus minutes. Dialogue was absolute gold between them. Miracle scene, LOL. You know what? It is funny. You think about this. You ever have like a friend, but you also have another friend, but those two people aren't actually connected? Like, I don't know, you're in a bowling league. I've never been in I'm just making something up. Let's say you're in a bowling league and you've been in a bowling league with this one dude for years and you became really good friends and blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, over here, there's a guy who's lived in your neighborhood for a bunch of years and you're like really, really great friends, but the two aren't really connected. And then you get into an environment where the two of them are now hanging out and it's kind of an awkward thing. Like they're both friends with you, but they're not really friends with each other. I get that kind of awkwardness, but with really good chemistry at the same time, right? With really good chemistry at the same time. Because that's, Cap was his friend, Cap was his friends, but they were not a group of friends. They weren't a group of friends. So you get that kind of awkwardness and it's been great. The way they're playing it off has been great. All right, next up. Was that Dave? Yes, it was. Next up, Lee Mel KH2 writes, "Hey, John, I'm few minutes behind, but I live in Grand Rapids. Nice, Michigan, born and raised. Guessing the store is Argos. Thanks so much for doing these shows." No, it wasn't Argos. Unless, listen, we're talking 20 years ago. We're talking 20 years ago that me and some friends would make those drives, at least 20 years ago. But it wasn't called Argos, but maybe they've changed their name since, or maybe the store that I'm thinking of isn't even in business anymore, possibly, but it wasn't called Argos. But I did like driving into Grand Rapids. I did. All right. Thanks for sharing that, man. All right. Daryl Best Wadley writes, "Well, the new Cap is a good guy. Maybe. I now feel like he's going to be killed by Zemo. That is a possibility. And that's why Sam has the shield in the trailer. Maybe because, look, we do see at one point Sam practicing with the shield. We even see Bucky in one of the previews. We see Bucky using the shield, right? So at some point they get their hands on it. Will that be because Captain Walmart dies sooner rather than later? Maybe at the hands of Zemo, maybe at the hands of somebody else. I mean, for all we know, Zemo never gets out of jail. I think he does, though, because I think we saw him with the purple mask on in the previews. So, yeah, he probably is getting out of jail. But, yeah, maybe Zemo kills him. Maybe somebody else kills him. Maybe Mephisto kills him. We'll have to find out. But, yeah, maybe that's how they get the shield. Maybe he dies the hero. Maybe he becomes the bad guy and they get the shield from him. Maybe he dies heroically and that's how they get the shield. I think we'll get a clear picture after episode 3, Daryl, but we'll find out. All right. Kina writes, "I wonder if each MCU show will have a powerful one-liner. We're 2 for 2 right now. What would be the one line from the first episode? I'm trying to remember. What's the big one line from the first episode? I mean, I know that one of the lines that I loved is when the therapist says to Bucky, 'You're free.' And Bucky says, 'To do what?' I mean, I love that line. I'm not quite sure if that's the one you're thinking of. Maybe we're talking about another one. But yeah, this one, the line of, 'And if he was wrong about you, he was wrong about me.' And he can't live with that idea. He cannot live with that idea." Zachary Melvin writes, "In Ultimate Universe, mutants were side of..." Let me try this again. "In Ultimate Universe, mutants were side of effect. Mutants were side of effect of the Super Soldier Project to recreate Cap." I don't recall that. I didn't read a lot. Again, I've mentioned this before. I've never read a lot of the Ultimate Universe stuff. So, I mean, I did not know that. But no, they are not bringing mutants into Falcon and Winter Soldier. I repeat, they are not bringing mutants into Falcon and Winter Soldier. That is getting closer, though. We are getting closer to that. All right, next up. Randy Suematsu writes, "Will Cap's successor be settled by the end of this?" Here's what I think. I don't know if they're going to have a successor. Like, look, at the end of the day, if I had to bet $5 right now, and I had to put my money down, and I had to put down $5, what do I ultimately think they're going to do by the end of this show? I think Sam Wilson is the new Captain America. I don't like that. I don't think anybody should be the new Captain America. There is only one Captain America, Steve Rogers, but that's what I think the show's going to do. But I'm not going to feel good about that bet because I believe there are a lot of possibilities. Like they just retire the mantle of Captain America, but Bucky takes on a new name, Uncle Sam or something like that. And he does carry the shield as the symbol of everything that Captain America stood for. There are a lot of possibilities. I don't know. But if I had to pick one right now, my guess is they'll anoint Sam as the new Captain America. I hope not, but we'll find out. All right, next up, Ethan's Tech World writes, "When watching with my friends, we noticed Flag Smashers at their base having a gaming setup. We were laughing so much. The villains have LAN tournaments. Get in there. Tell me about this. Do you guys ever play? This is going back some years, but one of my all-time favorite first-person shooters was a video game, a first-person shooter called Heretic. Did any of you guys ever play Heretic? Heretic was great. One of the best things to do in Heretic was there was this weapon you had. It was like an egg, and you could turn your enemy into a chicken. And once you turned your opponent into a chicken, you could still try to run. If you were turned into a chicken, you could still run away. But the thing is, as a chicken, you could be killed with one shot, like even if it was just a stick. And I had this one buddy of mine who was so good at Heretic. Tim McCaffrey remembers Heretic. My one buddy, Dave, was so good at Heretic. When he would play us, like we would bring our computers over, have a LAN party. When he would play us, all he would use was the stick. Like we would all use the biggest guns that we could, and he would just use the stick, and he would still beat us all. He would just keep running circles around us and hitting us with sticks, and our power meters kept going down just little bit by little bit. And he just used to beat the hell out of it. And I loved Heretic. I think my all-time favorite first-person shooter is still Unreal Tournament. I used to love Unreal Tournament, but I still play a little bit of Unreal Tournament, as a matter of fact. But oh yeah, man, I remember playing those LAN parties, dude. I remember those LAN parties. All right, Tacky75 writes, more likely, Young Avengers or Thunderbolts? Thunderbolts. Honest, because I think there's actually a pretty good chance for that at some point. So I'm going to say Thunderbolts. Richard Ganther writes, I know it's a comic book movie, but you get kicked off a semi going 55 to 70 miles an hour into a windshield. Without super soldier serum, you die. Or at least get a concussion. Little too ridiculous. But remember, Bucky is a super soldier. You remember when he ran and caught up to the trucks already in motion? Like he's got that speed. He is a super soldier. So he can get thrown across that thing and get slammed into the windshield, and he's okay. So there's that. Don't forget about that, Richard. But yeah, see, that's one of the things about the idea about like either Sam Wilson or John Walker or whatever. That's great. You can call yourself Captain America if you want, whether you're Sam or John Walker or whoever. But the reality is, you know how many times Cap got punched by Thanos? You know how many times Cap got like either like hit with or blown through a concrete wall? Yeah, that happens to Sam Wilson or that happens to John Walker. They probably die. Like a windshield is one thing. Like maybe you could take that. Maybe you could take that and walk away. Maybe. But like you can't take any of the shots these other guys took and live. One punch from Thanos to a regular human being, that human being's dead. They're dead. They're just dead. And that's always been one of the things about like the idea of somebody who's not Steve Rogers becoming Captain America. It's like, okay, that's great. You can run around in the shield and the suit, but you're not really Captain America. It's just kind of the way it is. But I don't know. Let's see what they got planned. Okay, next up. Mahir Hawk, right? I believe that you pronounced it Hawk. I think I remember you saying it's pronounced Hawk. Mahir Hawk writes, the end of the episode caught me off guard. Oh, with them showing Zemo? Well, I mean, we've known for a long time that Zemo was going to be a part of the show. They announced that a long time ago. But yeah, the way they did it was like, oh, there he is. It was kind of fun. And then just Tom Gillard sent in a super chat badge. And that will do it, guys. We have gotten through every single question that came in. 2.5 hours to do it, talking about a 45-minute episode. It's awesome talking about these Marvel shows. But that will do it, guys, for this week's installment of our Falcon and Winter Soldier open spoiler discussion. Thank you so much, guys, for being here, a part of it. This just makes watching the show even more fun for me. So thank you for being a part of the special. Thank you to all you guys who sent in your comments, questions, observations, and theories. Because number one, you gave us great fun things to talk about. Number two, you supported this channel as you did it. And all of us here, guys, thank you guys very, very much for that support. I have an exciting evening ahead of myself. I'm going to the movies tonight. Me and Ann are going to go watch Nobody. I'm very excited about that. I cannot wait to go watch Nobody. So we're going to go watch Nobody tonight at the theaters. Cannot wait. And don't forget, guys, we'll be back again next week. But next week, which is week 3 of Falcon and Winter Soldier, we are starting on Thursdays, our Falcon and Winter Soldier pregame show. And then, of course, Friday will be our third installment of our Falcon and Winter Soldier open spoiler discussion. So, all right, guys. That'll do it for me for now. I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend ahead of yourselves, resting and relaxing or having a good time and having fun, whatever it is you need this weekend. I hope you get it. That'll do it for me for now, guys. Thanks a lot for being here. My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.